Chapter 212, Chapter 212, Shun Mei, Chapter 212, Shun Mei, Do you know why one hit you? Li Lingtian slowly squatted down in front of Yan Yucheng with a faint smile on his face as he asked softly. Yun Yaoyao and the others were still in shock. They didn't expect this gentle junior brother to have a hot-blooded side. Yan Yucheng shook his head as he was stunned by Li Lingtian's slap. Seeing Yan Yucheng shaking his head and cooperating, everyone present was stunned. They had actually been stunned by an insult. This slap is for your parents because you don't know manners. Pa. After saying that, he slapped the other side. The two sides were now balanced. This slap is for your parents. Because your parents didn't teach their children well, the upper beam is not straight, and the lower beam is crooked. Pa. The third slap rang out. Yan Yucheng saw stars and didn't know what was going on. One slapped you for myself. You shouldn't have threatened me. You can continue to threaten me. One welcome it. Get lost. Li Lingtian stood up and gave him 3 slaps. Each slap was justified and the other warrior spirit genius disciples did not retort. After 3 slaps, Li Lingtian withdrew the cold qi from Yan Yucheng's body. Li Lingtian's ice soul was able to easily deal with the chill. He had already mastered the ice soul to its limits. The rest of the warrior spirit geniuses were also instantly engulfed by the cold air. By the time they reacted, the cold air had already taken control of them. My cultivation has recovered. When Yan Yucheng waited for Li Lingtian to leave, he was shocked to find that his frozen meridians had recovered and his cultivation base had been fully restored. The other geniuses also heard it and were equally shocked. Seeing Li Lingtian walking toward them step by step, everyone revealed a look of fear. Their arrogant smiles were gone. Aren't you laughing? I told you not to beg for mercy. You might be wondering how I did it, but there's no harm in telling you. I'm an alchemist, and I've mastered your meridians. If you can't recover within an hour, you'll forever be trash. Li Lingtian said with a smile. As he spoke, everyone listened curiously, curious to know how Li Lingtian had done it. After hearing Li Lingtian's words, they finally understood. The other party was an alchemist, so it was no wonder. Some of them were familiar with the meridians of the human body, so it was easy for them to deal with them. Miss Yun, please help us plead for mercy. We are extremely grateful and know that we were wrong just now. That's right, Miss Yun. Please tell your junior brother that I know my mistake and am willing to compensate him. I'm also willing to compensate you. Brother, please forgive us. All of a sudden, Neltharion and the others were stunned. Were they still those arrogant geniuses? But in front of junior brother Li, they were like obedient babies. Even Shun Mei, didn't dare to say anything. The seductive look on her face had disappeared, and she looked very pitiful. Junior brother, sister was wrong just now. Shun Mei said in a sweet voice. Now, her voice wasn't as charming as before. After he finished speaking, a pitiful expression appeared on his face. He was curious about the young man before him. He had been patient at the beginning, but he had become hot-blooded and domineering later on. He did not have any cultivation, but he could easily control these warrior spirit geniuses. Who is your junior brother? Junior brother Li is my junior brother. Don't try to curry favor with him. Yun Yaoyao was stunned when she saw Shun Mei's expression. She quickly stepped forward and blocked her way. Shun Mei wanted to snatch his junior brother away. Wasn't this a joke? When everyone saw Yun Yaoyao's expression, they couldn't help but laugh. Humph. Shun Mei scoffed and did not say another word. She waited for Li Lingtian's reply, unsure of how he would deal with them. I'm in a good mood, so each of you will receive 500 low-grade spirit stones. My senior brothers and sisters were shocked, so they need mental compensation. Li Lingtian replied indifferently with a calm expression. All right, it's my duty. I'll pay. I was really rude just now. Brotherly, please don't blame me. The dozen warrior spirit geniuses were stunned when they heard Li Lingtian's words. They did not expect Li Lingtian to let them off so easily. 500 low-grade spirit stones were precious, almost equivalent to their harvest in a year, but it was still better than losing their lives. It was also better than Yan Yuqing getting slapped a few times. With that said, he quickly took out his spiritual stones. Although he was reluctant to part, he did not dare to show it in front of Li Lingtian. She was reluctant to part with him, but she still had to show a look of willingness on her face. Each of the 14 warrior spirit geniuses would have 500 spirit stones. Junior brotherly, what should one do if one don't have spirit stones? Shun pouted. She wanted to waste her spiritual stones but was frightened by Li Lingtian's icy gaze. They all felt their hearts tremble. This young man had no cultivation, but his methods and personality made them feel afraid. Li Lingtian did not even look at the 7,500 spiritual stones. He gave them all to Yun Yaoyao and asked her to distribute them to Neltharion and the others. The few of them rejected the offer, but when they saw that Li Lingtian did not seem to want the spiritual stones at all, they kept the spiritual stones. The dozen or so people were curious when they saw Li Lingtian ignoring the spiritual stones. This mysterious young man was not to be underestimated. The small interludes soon passed. Li Lingtian and the others arrived at the center of the plaza and waited for the gathering to begin. A gathering was just a trade fair, no different from auctions and markets. However, this trade was free. You dare to ignore me? You're finished, kid. Watching Li Lingtian and Yun Yaoyao leave, Shun snorted coldly. No matter where she went, she would be followed by countless followers. All the talented people would go crazy for her. He did not expect that he would be completely ignored in front of this young man. Could it be that he did not enter his eyes? Women could only be described as strange creatures. When you notice her and care about her, he will completely ignore you and even hate you. But when you ignored her, she would feel disappointed. A woman's heart was like a needle in the sea. Princess, let's go back. You've been out for more than half a year. Her Majesty the Queen has sent someone to look for you. A green-robed man came before Shun bowed and said respectfully. His appearance was extremely respectful, as if he was a subject who had seen his emperor. If Li Lingtian were to see the green-robed man, he would definitely be able to tell that the man's cultivation was at the peak of a Tier 6 martial emperor. A powerhouse at the peak of the 6th stage martial emperor was so respectful in front of a warrior spirit girl. One could imagine how powerful this girl's identity was. No, I'm not going back. I still have to marry that wind spirit prince. Shun didn't even look at the man in green. After she finished speaking, she walked into the square and blended into the crowd. After Shun left, the green-robed man waved his hand, and a few young warriors also disappeared from the square. Each of them was emitting the aura of a martial emperor. Naturally, Li Lingtian and the others did not know about Shun She was just a little girl who was spoiled by the adults. After the announcement by the genius disciple of the Mu family, Mu Yunfeng, the gathering officially began. Many warriors took out the items they wanted to sell and placed them on the stone table prepared by the Mu family. In the middle of the square, there were countless stone tables everywhere. Some warriors placed their items on them, waiting for warriors who needed them to come and exchange them. Some martial artists were wandering around in the middle of the square, looking for the items they needed. Wow, Junior brotherly, is this 100-year-old rootless flower? This is 100 spirit grass. Junior brotherly, what is this? Junior brotherly, let's buy that back. It looks so beautiful. Yun Yaoyao cried out happily from time to time. Whenever she saw some strange herbs and plants, she would ask Li Lingtian about them. She had attended many gatherings before, but she had never been as happy as she was this time. Moreover, he had met Shun a few times before. The two of them had met each other the moment they met. Both of them were peerless beauties. Naturally, they were jealous of each other. Li Lingtian smiled when he saw Yun Yaoyao's happy expression. The herbs and plants were not expensive and Yun Yaoyao had just given him 1,000 spiritual stones. Naturally, he could buy them. Buy it. One still have some spirit stones on me. Li Lingtian said with a smile. He did not take any of the spiritual stones that they had just divided. They knew that Li Lingtian must have spiritual stones. This stroll lasted for 2 to 3 hours. It was already late at night, but the place was still brightly lit and lively. Just as the few of them were happily strolling around, Li Lingtian's face revealed a trace of chilliness. The chilliness was accompanied by a murderous intent that flashed across his face. In his eyes, he saw a few powerful people discussing animatedly. If it was any other time, he wouldn't have cared. However, among these people, one of them was Yan Yucheng. The others were Tier 9 warrior spirits, and one of them was even a warrior king. Needless to say, the matter they were discussing was targeted at them. They had seen many such things. Brother Feng, it's all up to you this time. That good-for-nothing is a pill refiner. You just have to be careful. After this, each of you will receive 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. Brother Zhou, haven't you been paying attention to that girl from the Yun family for a long time? This is a good opportunity. Yan Yucheng looked in Li Lingtian's direction with a vicious look in his eyes. He had just been humiliated and slapped in front of everyone. How could the anger in his heart be appeased? This trash was just secretly scheming. When the time came, he would have to pull out his tendons and skin him alive to vent his hatred. A good-for-nothing beat you up like this. I'm really speechless. Ling Qingfeng looked at Yan Yucheng with disdain. If it wasn't for the Yan clan's strength, he wouldn't have hung out with this Yan Yucheng. The Ling clan and the Yan clan were both members of the top 10 clans, and their disciples interacted with each other. 1,000 spirit stones. When the time comes, deliver it on time. Tonight, that girl will be mine. Zhou Yuming's face revealed an evil smile. Yun Yaoyao was the #1 beauty in the soliciting Moon Mountains. Countless genius disciples were crazy about her, and he was no exception. The few of them discussed for a moment and left the square early. No one knew where they went. Chapter 213, Chapter 213, Rainbow Heaven Mending Stone. Chapter 213, Rainbow Heaven Mending Stone. Li Lingtian followed the few of them as they strolled around. There was nothing worth buying at such a small gathering. On the other hand, Neltharion and the others were extremely excited. They had obtained more than 1,000 spiritual stones out of thin air and bought a lot of elixirs. However, just as Li Lingtian and the others were about to leave, his eyes stopped on a stone table. A fist-sized stone was mixed with other items. On the stone table, there were more than 10 kinds of medicinal herbs and some demon beast inner cores. How much are these herbs? Li Lingtian came to the stone table and looked at the owner of the herbs. It was a Tier 3 warrior spirit youth. Yun Yaoyao and the others didn't understand, but they didn't say anything and just followed behind. The medicinal herbs on the stone table were 10 or 50 years old. Li Lingtian did not need these herbs. 10 years old herbs, 10 low-grade spirit stones per stalk. 50 years old herbs, 50 low-grade spirit stones per stalk. If you buy more, you can get it cheaper. The young man smiled politely when he saw Li Lingtian approach him. He had not managed to sell any of the items in the deal tonight, so his trip here had been in vain. So expensive. You can go rob people. When Xingling and Yunbing heard this, they immediately shouted out. In fact, this price was not considered expensive. It was only 1 spirit stone higher than the other prices. I want all of these. How many spirit stones do one need? Li Lingtian said with a smile as he pointed at all the items on the stone table like a spoiled brat putting on airs. Oh, Please wait a moment. Let me calculate. The young man was stunned. Yun Bing and the others were also stunned. They could not understand why Li Lingtian would buy these common herbs. Moreover, he wanted to buy all of them. Wasn't this a joke? Brother, here are 11 50-year-old medicinal herbs, 20 10-year-old medicinal herbs, and 3 inner cores. That's a total of 1,050 low-grade spirit stones. I'll give you a discount. How about 1,000 spirit stones? The young man counted all the items in and the price was 1,050 low-grade spirit stones. In the end, he even said that he would get a discount. This was a slap to his mother. 1,050 low-grade spirit stones meant a reduction of 50 low-grade spirit stones. He even said it so nicely. He was simply asking for a beating. Yun Bing, Neltharion, and the others all had ugly expressions on their faces. They were just waiting to slap this person who was courting death. Alright, 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. Li Lingtian took out 1,000 lower spiritual stones from his storage pouch and counted them before handing them over. With a wave of his hand, all the items entered his storage bag. This stone is pretty. Li Lingtian said with a smile as he collected all the items. He put on airs as he led Yun Yaoyao and the others to the other side of the plaza. The few of them were no longer in the mood to stroll around. They were not used to Li Lingtian using 1,000 lower spiritual stones to buy some trash. Junior brother, why are you using so many spirit stones to buy some rubbish herbs? As long as we work hard, we can find these herbs in a month. Yun Yaoyao finally could not help but ask Li Lingtian. The others were also looking at Li Lingtian, wondering why he was wasting spiritual stones. However, at this moment, a figure appeared in front of them. Before the person arrived, a fragrance wafted over. The fragrance was familiar. Li Lingtian looked up and saw that it was Shun Mei, whom he had first met. Shun Mei tilted her head and looked at Li Lingtian seriously. Her eyes were filled with confusion. She had witnessed the entire process of Li Lingtian purchasing the herbs. Others might not recognize the items, but she did. Why is it you again? Yun Bing looked at Shun Mei. Although this girl was pretty, she had always been against her miss, so she naturally didn't say anything. If one say you are stupid, then you are stupid. Do you think he would spend 1,000 low-grade spirit stones to buy some rubbish herbs? Since he is an alchemist, he is naturally very particular about medicinal ingredients. He would not casually touch medicinal ingredients. But in the beginning, when he collected the medicinal ingredients, his gaze was not on the medicinal ingredients at all. Because his target isn't the medicinal herb, but the colorful stone. Shun Mei said calmly. She no longer had the charm she had before, but instead, she had a pure and innocent temperament. Li Lingtian was astonished by this change. The perfect combination of charm and innocence was truly a peerless beauty. However, what shocked him was the young girl's knowledge and insight. She actually directly stated her goal. Neltharion and the others were stunned as well. They shifted their gaze to Li Lingtian and initially thought that Shun Mei was just spouting nonsense. However, when they saw the smile on Li Lingtian's face, they knew that Shun Mei was telling the truth. Junior brother, is the stone she mentioned real? Yun Yaoyao still could not believe that Li Lingtian would splurge 1,000 spiritual stones just for a colorful stone. Tell me, what is this colorful stone? Li Lingtian did not answer Yun Yaoyao. Instead, he looked at Shun Mei curiously. His impression of this young lady had changed. Rainbow Heaven Mending Stone. Shun Mei's face revealed a proud smile. A smile that could topple a city, then a smile that could topple a country. Then, he softly said 5 words, the 7-colored Heaven Mending Stone. Rainbow Heaven Mending Stone. However, Li Lingtian was shocked. This young lady actually knew about the Rainbow Heaven Mending Stone. It seemed like she was really knowledgeable, or perhaps it was due to the environment. Not bad, you have good taste. Li Lingtian said with a smile before leaving with Yun Yaoyao and the others without saying anything else. He had also learned about the Rainbow Heaven Mending Stone from the Divine Formation diagram. He had searched all over Green Island but had not found it. He had not expected to find the Rainbow Heaven Mending Stone at this small gathering. The Rainbow Heaven Mending Stone was a rare material that was hard to come by in 10,000 years. Don't look down on this stone. Even hundreds of millions of spirit stones couldn't buy it. You. Seeing that Li Lingtian had ignored her and was walking away, Shun stomped her foot in anger. She could only curse at the back of the man. Li Lingtian and the rest did not linger any longer. Looking at the sky, it was already late at night. They had to rush back today. If they stayed in the mountains, it was inevitable that they would be attacked by demonic beasts. Junior brother, is what Shun said true? Yun Yaoyao trailed behind him. At first, Li Lingtian was like a lackey, but now that they were back, they were like his lackeys. That's right. It's indeed the seven-colored heaven mending stone. It's just that the person didn't recognize it. However, this rainbow heaven mending stone is only a material. Li Lingtian said calmly, but he was excited. Now that he had found the rainbow heaven mending stone, he could build a warship again in the future. At that time, if all the materials were gathered, it would not be an ordinary warship, but an aircraft carrier. Is this material very expensive? Yun Yaoyao's questions were all childlike, but it was a different story for a beautiful woman to ask. Yes, it's very precious. It should be worth this much. As Li Lingtian spoke, he extended his palm and moved his 5 fingers. 5,000 spirit stones. 50,000 spirit stones. 500,000 spirit stones. When they saw Li Lingtian's gesture, they thought it was 5,000 spiritual stones. However, Li Lingtian shook his head. When he finally said 500,000 spiritual stones, he was still shaking his head. The few of them did not ask any further because Li Lingtian's 1,000 inferior grade spirit stones to purchase these medicinal herbs and rainbow heaven mending stones was definitely a huge profit. What they didn't know was how precious this rainbow heaven mending stone was. 500,000. What a joke. Even if it was 5 billion, Li Lingtian would still buy it if he came across it. After leaving the plaza, Li Lingtian quickly made his way to Maple Leaf Villa. Senior sister, senior brother, wait for me. Li Lingtian stopped in his tracks with a pained expression on his face as he shouted at Yun Yaoyao and the others. Junior brother, what's wrong? Yun Yaoyao, Riyang Xiao, and the others were shocked and they saw the pained expression on Li Lingtian's face. It's fine. I'm going to relieve myself, hee. Li Lingtian said with a smile. The smile on his face was a little strange, which stunned Xiaoling and the others. Hurry up, we'll wait for you. It's really troublesome. Yun Bing and the others understood what was going on and their faces flushed red. Meanwhile, Xiaoling and Yun Mengcheng looked at Li Lingtian with amusement. Li Lingtian quickly crawled into the bushes by the roadside and found a secluded spot to activate the divine dragon ring. Whitey and the multicolored beast appeared in front of them, but their powerful auras disappeared the moment they appeared. You guys go ahead. Kill 1 warrior king and 5 warrior spirits. Stay hidden and return to my courtyard to wait for me. Don't let anyone discover you. Li Lingtian said softly. Following that, the 2 demonic beasts gave a human-like look before their bodies flashed and they dashed into the distance in the blink of an eye. After finishing everything, Li Lingtian slowly returned. Seeing Neltharion and the others waiting for him, he chuckled and continued to run with them toward Maple Leaf Villa. Li Lingtian and the rest were safe throughout the journey. There was not a single demonic beast or warrior. When they returned to the villa, it was already early in the morning. Li Lingtian, Yun Yaoyao, and the others parted ways and returned to their own residences. In the courtyard, Little White was sleeping in a corner. The multicolored beast knew how to hide. It was also hiding in a corner of the courtyard. When it saw Li Lingtian return, Little White extended its paw and handed 6 storage pouches to Li Lingtian. It then sent its consciousness into Li Lingtian's awareness. There were indeed 5 warrior spirits and 1 warrior king. However, these 6 people did not have the slightest chance to resist in front of them. They were instantly crushed to death by the powerful pressure. This is a heavenly Yao pill. You guys should hurry up and cultivate. My cultivation can't recover for the time being. It will depend on your abilities. If I don't die, you guys will be finished. Li Lingtian tossed the 2 jade bottles to the multicolored beast and Little White respectively. He then activated the divine dragon ring with his divine consciousness and allowed the 2 demonic beasts to enter the divine dragon ring to cultivate. Chapter 214, Chapter 214, Trouble, 1. Chapter 214, Trouble, 1. The small gathering ended peacefully. However, what made the Zhou clan and Ling clan furious was that 2 of their disciples had disappeared. The place where he disappeared was in a mountain range 10 miles away from the Mu family. Although he was killed by a demonic beast, this matter was also related to the Mu family. Although the disciples who died were only warrior spirits and martial kings, these disciples were all fresh blood in the clan. In the future, the clan would still rely on these disciples to flourish. Moreover, this was also a matter of face. The soliciting Moon Mountain Range looked quiet, but it was filled with turmoil. The major powers fought with each other, the subsidiary powers fought with each other, and the smaller families competed with each other. Even the disciples below them fought endlessly. Even the Purple Wind sect, which Maple Leaf Villa was attached to, had hundreds of families competing for it. Although they were all affiliated families under the Purple Wind sect, these families wanted to get more rewards and protection from the Purple Wind sect. The stronger the family's power, the more the sect would value you. Unfortunately, Maple Leaf Manor was one of the last forces under Purple Wind sect. Some super clans and super sects also had 10 levels of strength for their subordinates. Level 1 was the strongest, and level 10 was the smallest. Maple Leaf Manor was ranked at level 10, and among the families at level 10, it could be considered one of the last few. The Purple Wind sect gave each family a title. Each level had 10 forces, so naturally, each level had a title. These were all methods used by the super families and large sections. This time, the direct descendants of the Zhou and Ling families were killed. Naturally, they would not let the Mu family off. All of a sudden, the Moonrise Mountains was in turmoil, and the competition among the families became even more intense. Li Lingtian cultivated in the courtyard. The next day, Yun Yaoyao told him not to go out for the time being as it was chaotic outside. This news was an order from Purple Wind sect. Although Maple Leaf Manor was the weakest subordinate force, it was still meat no matter how small the mosquito was. Moreover, in the soliciting Moon Mountains, as long as it was a family or a real force, there would be people secretly trying to rope them in. Purple Wind sect would not give up on Maple Leaf Manor unless there was a crisis. If they gave up on Maple Leaf Manor, where would they put their face? That's for the best. Li Lingtian smiled. It was best to recover his cultivation base in peace here. It was rare for him to go out and take risks. As long as his cultivation recovered to the Martial King realm, he would go out to look for medicinal herbs and strive to recover his martial ancestor realm as soon as possible. However, God's will was better than man's. Just as he was cultivating, the Mu family, Ling family, and the Zhou family's affiliated families arrived at Maple Leaf Manor. Brother Lu, Brother Zhen, why is Brother Yang so free to come to my Maple Leaf Manor? Please come in. There was a faint smile on Yun Xiaoling's face, but his heart was heavy. These 3 martial kings had brought their disciples to Maple Leaf Manor. There was definitely nothing good going on. The 3 martial kings were all rank 4 martial kings. They were the subordinate forces of the Mu clan, Ling clan, and Zhou clan respectively. They definitely did not have good intentions for Maple Leaf Manor by coming to Maple Leaf Manor at this time. Brother Yun, there's no need for us to go in. We came to Maple Leaf Manor just to understand some things. Lu Yiming went straight to the point. A group of more than 30 people stood at the entrance of the Maple Leaf Manor. They had no intention of entering the Maple Leaf Manor at all. Brother Lu, what is the meaning of this? If you have anything to say, it's not too late to go in and talk. Yun Xiaoling secretly cursed in his heart. 3 clans naturally needed to find a scapegoat. In the soliciting Moon Mountains, unwarranted crimes were everywhere. There's no need for that. During the small gathering 2 days ago, my Ling and Zhou family disciples were plotted against. The place where they were killed was in the wilderness 10 miles away from the Mu family. Zhen Yuan said coldly. He was speaking on behalf of the Ling family, and he spoke arrogantly, completely disregarding Yun Xiaoling. Brother Zhen, you should be careful with your words. Don't say the wrong things and cause a misunderstanding between us. We, Maple Leaf Manor, feel sorry that the disciples of the Zhou and Ling families were killed. However, the disciples of the Zhou and Ling families died within 5 kilometers of the Mu family. What does it have to do with us? Yun Xiaoling smiled bitterly in his heart. A bigger fist made sense. If Maple Leaf Manor had enough strength or a rank 8 or rank 9 martial king, their status in Purple Wind's sect would increase greatly. They would not dare to cause trouble for Maple Leaf Manor. These families all had unspoken rules. Even if they wanted to find trouble, they would find those small families that were not in power. Even if the clan or sect they were attached to came looking for trouble, they would not go to war for an insignificant clan. On that day, countless people saw that the disciples of the Yen clan had conflicts with the disciples of your Maple Leaf Manor. The disciples of the Yen clan had always been on good terms with the disciples of the Ling clan and the Zhou clan. Naturally, hee. Moreover, the Maple Leaf Manor is just 10 miles away from the Mu family. That road leads to the Maple Leaf Manor. Could it be that it has nothing to do with your Maple Leaf Manor? A faint smile appeared on Zhen Yuan's face as he spoke logically. When the disciples of Maple Leaf Manor heard Zhen Yuan's words, their hearts were filled with anger. He actually connected a matter that was 108,000 miles away to Maple Leaf Manor. Wasn't this a crime that he wanted to add? Ha. I think the 3 of you think that my Maple Leaf Manor is easy to bully. If you have the ability, go and try it out with those big families. You know what's right and what's wrong. Anger appeared on Yun Xiaoling's face. Ever since the 3 martial kings arrived at Maple Leaf Manor, he knew that something bad was going to happen. However, he never expected them to link Maple Leaf Manor to the deaths of the Zhou and Ling clan disciples. In this way, his Maple Leaf Manor would become the scapegoat. Brother Yun can think whatever you want, but there must be an explanation for this matter. Brother Yun, do as you see fit. Lu Yiming said coldly. He had to take the blame no matter what. The bigger the fist, the better. He couldn't afford Maple Leaf Manor. Moreover, in the past few years, Maple Leaf Manor had gradually been neglected by Purple Wind sect, which made them even more unscrupulous. This matter is also very easy to handle. As long as Miss Yun becomes my concubine, my Mu family can take responsibility for your Maple Leaf Manor. A cold and arrogant voice sounded. A martial artist dressed as a young master walked up unhurriedly. Zhen Yuan, Lu Yiming, and Yang Mingzong also automatically made way. Mu Ao, the genius disciple of the Mu family, was a peak rank 9 martial king. Young Master Mu Ao, it is my honor to be able to catch your eye. However, my body has been weak since I was young, and I'm afraid that I won't be able to accept your love. When Yun Xiaoling saw Mu Ao arrive, his expression became even more solemn. If it was someone else, he would not be so worried. However, Mu Ao was a genius disciple of the Mu family. He had reached the 9th level of the martial king realm in his 20s. He was a rare genius even in the entire soliciting Moon Mountains. This precious daughter of his was the apple of his eye. Naturally, he would not marry Muao as a concubine. If it were any other force, they would definitely be extremely happy to have such a thing happen. I've given you face, but you don't want it. Let's see how you resolve this matter. If you don't satisfy me, Maple Leaf Manor will disappear from today. Muao was startled. He had never thought that a Maple Leaf Manor would dare to reject him. After saying that, he looked coldly at Xiaoling and the 6 martial kings beside him. Finally, he looked at Jin Yuan and the others. It was a blatant threat. Brother Yun, let's not talk about anything else. Today, as long as one of you defeats the 3 of us, this matter will be handled by young Master Muao according to the rules of the Soliciting Moon Mountains. Lu Yiming said loudly with a smile on his face. He had already made up his mind before he came. Maple Leaf Manor naturally wouldn't admit it, but it didn't matter. It wasn't up to them whether they agreed or not. There was no one in Maple Leaf Villa who could defeat the 3 martial kings. Duels were also the rules of the Soliciting Moon Mountain Range. Regardless of the size of the faction, if there was a grudge, it could be settled through a duel, regardless of life or death. This was also the concept of the strong being respected. The bigger the fist, the stronger the principle. After saying that, the smile on his face became even wider. The other martial kings also had smiles on their faces. There were 3 rank for martial kings on his side, while Maple Leaf Manor only had 1 rank for martial king. It was impossible for a rank 4 martial king to defeat 3 rank 4 martial kings. Over the years, they knew each other's strength. Moreover, even if Yun Xiaoling won, this matter would only be handed over to young Master Muao to handle. Lu Yiming, don't you think this is too shameless? Yun Feng cursed loudly. If it was a one-on-one fight, Yun Xiaoling still had a chance of winning. However, it was impossible for a rank 4 martial king to fight against 3 rank 4 martial kings. In this way, it was obvious that they wanted to kill all the martial king experts of Maple Leaf Manor. Even if Maple Leaf Manor did not attack the disciples of the Ling clan and Zhou clan, Maple Leaf Manor would still be finished. Hee, there is no such thing as shamelessness in this world. There is only strength. You can only blame your Maple Leaf Manor for being unlucky. Lu Yiming chuckled, not looking like he was going to reason with anyone. Immediately, the 30 warrior spirit disciples locked onto the few warrior spirits and warrior kings of Maple Leaf Manor. As long as there was any unusual movement in Maple Leaf Manor, they would raze it to the ground. Li Lingtian knew when these martial kings arrived at Maple Leaf Villa that even a tier 9 martial king would not be able to fight him with his divine consciousness. He silently came behind Yun Yaoyao and the others, watching everything with a faint smile on his face. This is another indispensable experience lesson. The strong are respected, and the bigger the fist, the stronger it is. Li Lingtian secretly nodded. This was the world to begin with, but he did not expect these people to make it sound so dignified. Junior brother Li. Yun Yaoyao's face turned pale. She had never seen such a situation before. Even if she had never seen such a scene before, she could tell from their numbers and strength that Maple Leaf Manor did not have the slightest strength to fight against these people in front of her. Naturally, she did not know that such a thing had happened in the Soliciting Moon Mountains. He did not have much time to leave Maple Leaf Manor, so he naturally did not know about it. Master! He called out softly when he saw Li Lingtian's arrival. He was extremely frustrated as he looked at Yun Xiaoling worriedly. He did not know how this matter would end. Ha, Lu Yiming, since that's the case, I'll test your strength to see how far you've progressed. When Yun Xiaoling saw the current situation, he knew that there was no other way. Even if he went to find the Purple Wind sect, it was too late. He didn't have any qualms about finding the Purple Wind sect. Would the Purple Wind sect offend the Mu, Ling, and Zhou families for the sake of Maple Leaf Manor? Chapter 215, Chapter 215, The True Power of the Heaven Flipping Seal. Chapter 215, The True Power of the Heaven Flipping Seal. Wait. Seeing that Yun Xiaoling was about to make a move, Lu Yiming, Zhen Yuan, and Yang Mingzong revealed a smug look on their faces. They knew Yun Xiaoling's strength very well. He was not Lu Yiming's opponent. Even if Yun Xiaoling defeated Lu Yiming, they could easily kill him. However, just as everyone was feeling happy, a calm voice sounded. The warriors of Maple Leaf Manor looked at the person who spoke. However, when they saw the person who spoke, their faces revealed a trace of confusion. Junior Brother Li. Junior Brother Li, don't speak. Yun Yao Yao was taken aback when she heard Li Lingtian's words. Her father was a Tier 4 warrior king, yet he had no chance of winning. If Li Lingtian were to anger these people, the consequences would be obvious. He, you've delivered yourself up. 2 days ago, it was you who used a trick to plot against Yan Yucheng. If it wasn't for you, the Zhou clan and Ling clan disciples wouldn't have died. Zhen Yuan burst into laughter when he saw Li Lingtian standing up. He did not notice a good-for-nothing disciple like Li Lingtian at first, but now that Li Lingtian had come out, he recalled the news from the disciples below that the person described was this good-for-nothing disciple. It's him. 2 days ago, he was the one who plotted against Yan Yucheng. Senior brother Yan Yucheng asked senior brother Zhou and the others to teach him a lesson, but he used a trick to harm senior brother Zhou and the others. A warrior spirit disciple stepped forward and pointed at Li Lingtian. He had witnessed the incident between Li Lingtian and Yan Yucheng the other day. Naturally, he had stepped forward to identify Li Lingtian. What else do you have to say? Yang Mingzong said coldly. He was also curious about this useless disciple in front of him. This young man definitely did not have any cultivation, but he was able to plot against a warrior spirit disciple. There must be something extraordinary about him. However, trash was trash, and trash could only be a stepping stone. Did I say anything? Didn't you say that the strong are respected? Li Lingtian said coldly, but he still had a faint smile on his face. The smile grew wider and wider. Then, he looked at Muao in the distance. He was only a rank 9 martial king, yet he was acting like a boss. A piece of trash. How dare you say that the strong are respected in front of this king? Are you even worthy? Lu Yiming's face revealed a look of disdain. He felt that talking to this young man was already an insult to him. Oh, is a martial king an expert? But in my opinion, a martial king is worse than an ant. He's not even trash. He can only pollute the air in this world. Everyone was stunned. Was this something that an ordinary person would dare to say? An ordinary person, a piece of trash who couldn't cultivate, actually dared to speak to a martial king like this. Was he crazy or stupid? Yun Yao Yao and the others were extremely anxious. Wasn't this courting death? During this period of time, the disciples of Maple Leaf Manor had a good relationship with Li Lingtian. Naturally, they were worried about him. The few martial kings and Muao were also stunned. Wasn't this a slap in the face? They were martial kings, yet they were called ants and trash in front of this trash. How could they tolerate this? You are dead today. Muao said coldly, a vicious glint flashing across his eyes. You, trash. I'll make an exception and kill you. Lu Yiming was furious. He had never fought against an ordinary person in his life. He did not expect to be angered by an ordinary person. He was right. In this world, as long as one was human, one could cultivate, no matter how talented one was. They all had a bit of cultivation, but the young man in front of them did not have a single bit of cultivation. As soon as he finished speaking, a huge fist with destructive force was hurled toward Li Lingtian at an incredible speed. Even Yun Xiaoling, who was not far away, did not have time to help. They could only watch helplessly as Li Lingtian was killed. Yun Yao Yao and the others were horrified to death. They could already imagine the scene of Li Lingtian being blasted into pieces. Lu Yiming also looked excited. To kill an opponent in one hit was more satisfying than anything else. A smile appeared in his eyes as he imagined Li Lingtian turning into a bloody mist under his fist. However, the smile in his eyes did not last long. It quickly turned into confusion and then fear. No one dared to look at the ending, but something strange happened. Li Lingtian reached out with one hand and flipped it strangely. He then gently and lightly met the attack without any strength. It was as if a dying man instinctively used his hand to block the attack. However, in Lu Yiming's eyes, this was not the case. In his eyes, this good-for-nothing young man in front of him casually flipped his hand, but it brought with it the trajectory of heaven and earth, and it had a supreme magical pressure. He had seen such a miraculous trajectory during a great battle 20 years ago. The entire process happened in an instant. Bang! With a slight muffled sound, a trace of oppressive aura appeared in the air, and everyone was stunned. Because after this muffled sound, the good-for-nothing youth did not disappear like smoke. On the contrary, Lu Yiming's body was thrown out like a kite with a broken string. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body fell to the ground 100 meters away. When he fell, his body made cracking sounds. He couldn't move, and his vitality gradually disappeared. Trash. I said trash, but one didn't believe it. Li Lingtian clapped his hands lightly, as if Lu Yiming's fist had dirted his hand. He appeared nonchalant as if he had nothing to do with what had just happened. Mu Ao, Zhen Yuan, and Yang Mingzong all stared blankly at Lu Yiming, who was sent flying. Yun Xiaoling and the warriors of Maple Leaf Manor were all stunned. All of this was like an illusion. Yun Yaoyao and Yun Bing knew Li Lingtian the best, but when they looked at him now, it was as if they were looking at a stranger. Yaoyao sis, I'm not used to looking at me like this. Li Lingtian broke the silence as he spoke softly with a faint smile on his face. All the warriors were jolted awake. They did not even notice Li Lingtian calling Lu Yiming a good-for-nothing. Hush! There was an uproar. Was this still that amiable junior brother? Was this still the junior brother who was called trash? That was impossible. Even a martial king had been beaten to a pulp without anyone knowing. This was an instant kill. So it was you who harmed the people of the Zhou and Ling families. Let's see how you face the wrath of the Zhou and Ling families. Zhen Yuan said coldly, his expression turning ugly. With Lu Yiming's strength, even he couldn't defeat him, but now he was killed by a trash in one hit. Now that it was difficult to back down, he could only use the Ling and Zhou families to suppress Maple Leaf Manor. Ling clan. Zhou clan. You're all just trash. It's best if you don't provoke me. One don't want to cause trouble. I just want to refine pills properly. You guys get lost, but the few of you have to stay. Li Lingtian shook his head and moved his limbs as if he had just woken up. However, his eyes revealed a sharp light that was different from his identity, and his entire body emitted a mysterious and powerful aura. He casually pointed at the 30 warrior spirit disciples and told them to scram. However, he wanted Zhen Yuan and Yang Mingzong to stay, including Mu Ao. The attack just now had also used the Heaven Up seal. During this period of time, his cultivation had fallen, but he had cultivated the Heaven Up seal and other skills to the extreme. He was only one step away from the transcendent state. Although this Heaven Up seal was an earth-tier skill, it carried a hint of profoundness. The trajectory of heaven and earth was contained within it. Under one attack, his Tier 2 warrior spirit cultivation, coupled with the Heaven Up seal, killed Lu Yiming, who was a Tier 4 warrior king, instantly. Although Lu Yiming was careless, it was not something a warrior spirit could do to break through a warrior king's defense. However, Li Lingtian managed to do it because of the sky-turning seal and his spiritual cultivation. Li Lingtian, you can't. Junior brother Li. Yun Xiaoling and Yun Yaoyao shook their heads. Although they did not know how Li Lingtian did it, no matter how powerful he was no match for the Zhou, Ling, and Mu clans. The three families occupied 1/3 of the world in the soliciting Moon Mountain range. The Maple Leaf Manor could not afford to offend them, and even the Purple Wind sect could not afford to offend the three families. Don't worry, they're courting death. Didn't they say that the strong are respected? Then let them know that this sentence isn't something that any trash can say. Li Lingtian smiled and turned to look at the warrior opposite him. He could understand what Yun Xiaoling and Yun Yaoyao were thinking. If the hundreds of people in Maple Leaf Manor offended the three great clans, they would be completely wiped out. You actually dared to plot against Brother Lu. Let's see how you die. Yang Mingzong felt an inexplicable fear in his heart. The young man in front of him who had no cultivation gave him a sense of dread. When Li Lingtian looked at him, he felt as if he had fallen into hell. Very good, very good. You have offended this young master. As long as you kneel down and apologize immediately, this young master can give you a complete corpse. Otherwise. Mu Ao's expression kept changing. He did not notice how Li Lingtian had sent Lu Yiming flying, but he was a peak tier 9 martial king with a top-notch mystic skill. As long as he was careful, he could easily eliminate the good-for-nothing youth before him. Since young, he had always been a high and mighty existence. How could he allow others to steal his limelight? If you don't seek death, you won't die. I told you to get lost. If you don't get lost, then you have to stay. Li Lingtian completely ignored Mu Ao as he looked at the 30 warrior spirit disciples who were all tier 8 or 9. However, in Li Lingtian's eyes, they were just a bunch of ants. No matter how many ants there were, they could not withstand the flood. He stretched out his hand and flipped it gently like he did at the beginning. His aura completely changed and became ethereal. A strange aura slowly extended out, and his entire person seemed to have fused into this world. Heaven Flipping Seal, it is your honor to die under the Heaven Flipping Seal. Li Lingtian said calmly. His expression turned solemn as he waved his hands gently. Mysterious hand gestures appeared continuously before he flipped his hand in the air and pressed it down on the other side. Chapter 216, Chapter 216, 1 against 3. Chapter 216, 1 against 3. It was still that light palm strike, but the impact it brought to all the martial artists present was a destructive blow. The void flipped and 100-meter-long palm print came crashing down. The space trembled. It seemed like a long time, but it only took an instant for the huge palm print to fall. There was a series of loud explosions as the ground continued to collapse. More than 30 warrior spirit disciples were drowned by the palm print. After the palm print disappeared, all 30 warrior spirit disciples were lying on the ground. They did not seem to be injured at all, but they did not have the slightest bit of vitality. Everyone present had numb expressions on their faces. They had seen countless battles between experts, but they had never seen such a powerful suppression. Moreover, it was unleashed by a young man who was called Trash and had no cultivation. The entire scene was extremely strange. Even Yun Yaoyao was stunned. This junior brother of hers had been rescued by her not long ago and had no cultivation at all, but now he was so domineering. I seem to remember that I just said that if you don't court death, you won't die. Even if I told you, it seemed like I wanted them to scram, but they wanted to stay. I had no choice but to fulfill their wishes. This is the first time I've encountered something like this. It's best to do it more often in the future. Li Lingtian helplessly spread his hands, looking really helpless. This action almost caused everyone present to collapse. He had killed over 30 warrior spirit disciples in one strike, yet he was still pretending to be innocent. Let's do it together. I'm a little tired. I need to sleep. Hurry up. Li Lingtian took a step forward and spoke calmly as if he was talking about an ordinary matter. However, when he took a step forward, Mu Ao and the other two subconsciously took a step back. A trace of fear appeared on their faces. For the first time, they felt fear. They were afraid of a good-for-nothing youth without any cultivation. Yun Xiaoling and the Maple Leaf Manor warriors were speechless. What kind of people were these? They actually needed 3 martial kings to join forces and go to sleep after the fight. Alright, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. No matter who you are, it's not so easy to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger. No matter how powerful the heaven-flipping seal is, you don't have any cultivation. It's just like this. The 3 of them looked at each other. This young man in front of them could not be understood with common sense. He did not care about his family at all. If they used their family to threaten him, they would be courting death. Since it had come to this, they could only kill him. Otherwise, they really wouldn't be able to leave. Encountering a lunatic could only be considered unlucky. Encountering a lunatic with terrifying strength could only be considered unlucky. Qian Juiying, die. With a wave of his hand, a supreme-grade profound armament appeared in Jin Yuan's hand. Without any hesitation, he hurled the supreme-grade profound armament at Li Lingtian. In the sky, a domineering light slashed down at an extremely fast speed. Even a martial king of the same level would not dare to easily block this attack, let alone an ordinary person without cultivation. 5 mountains trembling. At this moment, Yang Mingzong also summoned a pitch-black iron tower. The iron tower instantly expanded to 3 meters in size. It looked cumbersome, but it was extremely light in Yang Mingzong's hands. The iron tower smashed toward Li Lingtian with a destructive attack. Clear wind slash, activate. As the 2 of them attacked, Mu Ao's expression was cold. He didn't hold back either. He chanted a mysterious incantation and a sword appeared in his hand. The long sword carried an astonishing pressure. This was the pressure of a treasure. Instantly, the atmosphere in the air became extremely oppressive. An emperor weapon, a low-grade emperor weapon. Yun Xiaoling was shocked. Wasn't it heaven-defying for a martial king to have a martial monarch realm weapon? Immediately, he understood that this emperor weapon was given to Mu Ao by a super expert of the Mu family. A 20-year-old Tier 9 martial king was naturally a top genius. With this emperor weapon, there was no one in the same tier who could match him. Just as all the Maple Leaf Manor martial artists were shocked, the clear wind slash released a shocking pressure, which brought down a light shadow. The 3 destructive attacks formed an intersection point. There was no room for retreat at all. Even a martial arts grandmaster expert would die in front of this attack, let alone an ordinary person without cultivation. Yun Yaoyao and the few warriors who were close to Li Lingtian were shocked to death. They could only watch helplessly as Li Lingtian was helpless against the destructive attack. It's just a facade. However, while everyone was in shock, Li Lingtian, who was at the center of the attack, said calmly that it was just a facade. He completely looked down on the trio's attacks. As he spoke, the genuine qi in his body had already been circulated to the extreme. He was a Tier 2 warrior spirit, and he was circulating powerful dragon energy to cast the true dragon body barrier. On his body, there was a faint light shield, just like a mage's protective shield. 2 5-meter-long flying dragon phantoms appeared out of thin air. One of the flying dragons attacked Jin Yuan, and the other flew towards Yang Mingzong's attack. Meanwhile, Li Lingtian watched Mu Ao's breeze slash strike down with disdain as if he was watching a show. Roar! Roar! Rumble! Fei Long roared and the 2 attacks cancelled each other out, disappearing into the air. However, Fei Long continued to charge towards Yang Mingzong and Jin Yuan. As expected, the breeze slash landed on Li Lingtian's body. Mu Ao's eyes revealed a smug look, but it was even more vicious. However, when the breeze slash landed on Li Lingtian's body, his expression turned fearful. This was because the power of a low-grade emperor weapon was actually blocked by the opponent's light shield. When the breeze slash landed on the light shield, it only trembled slightly. In the end, the clear wind slash was actually repelled. The entire situation was extremely strange. Yun Yaoyao and the other martialists present were stunned. What kind of defense was this? Even the imperial artifact couldn't shake it at all. Die! Li Lingtian was extremely satisfied. During this period of time, all his skills had improved to the extreme. The power of these ultimate skills had exceeded his imagination. After saying that, he stretched out a hand and a huge fist smashed out. The dominating heaven fist was also an earth rank skill. It was impossible for warrior spirits to cultivate earth rank skills. Only martial arts grandmasters could cultivate it. Moreover, many martial arts grandmasters did not have earth rank skills to cultivate. In Li Lingtian's hands, there were several types of earth tier skills. The dominating heaven fist was unleashed in an instant, ruthlessly bombarding the terrified Mu Ao's body. A cracking sound could be heard, and Mu Ao's face revealed a look of despair. In the end, his body fell down, and not a single bone in his body was intact. The air was quiet for a moment because Yang Mingzong and Jin Yuan had been killed by the flying dragon when Mu Ao died. The flying dragon was Li Lingtian's attack, so it could not be retracted and gradually dissipated into the air. It's finally quiet. Li Lingtian clapped his hands and turned around. He did not even look at the dozens of dead warriors outside Maple Leaf Villa. There was even a hint of annoyance on his face. Then, his expression became calm, as if everything in front of him had nothing to do with him. After saying that, he slowly walked back to his place. Everything here was basically settled. He no longer needed him. It was already impossible for him to cultivate peacefully. Yun Xiaoling was the first to wake up after Li Lingtian left. He was still in shock. Following that, the other martial artists all woke up with a start. They all looked at each other, unable to adapt at all. You guys deal with the matters here first. Yao Yao, Yun Bing, Xingling, the three of you come in with me. Yun Xiaoling sighed and began to instruct the other disciples to clean up the scene. He then led Yun Yao Yao and the other two into the villa. Yun Yao Yao and the other two muttered to themselves behind him. In the end, they followed Yun Tianling to the courtyard in the deepest part of Maple Leaf Manor. Yao Yao, what's going on? The three of you should know what is going on. Don't hide anything. Yun Xiaoling sat down and hurriedly asked, confusing Yun Yao Yao and the other two. They didn't know what was going on either. Father, we don't know anything. Yun Yao Yao looked at Xingling and Yun Bing's frightened expressions. As Yun Xiaoling's precious daughter, she was naturally not afraid of Yun Xiaoling. I'm asking you, what's going on with Li Lingtian? One thought he had no cultivation base. How did he manage to kill a martial king in an instant and withstand the attack of a tier 9 peak martial king's emperor weapon? Do you know his background? Yun Xiaoling looked at Yun Yao Yao. He knew his precious daughter the best, so he definitely wouldn't hide anything. Either that or Li Lingtian deliberately concealed his identity and hid himself in Maple Leaf Villa. He did not believe that Li Lingtian would covet Maple Leaf Villa's wealth. Such an impressive young man who was also an alchemist would naturally not be interested in Maple Leaf Villa. Even the top 10 families would try their best to rope in such a person. Father, junior brother Li has no ill intentions. One told you last time. We went to the back mountain to collect the cloud spirit fruit and met junior brother Li, who was seriously injured and almost on the verge of death. Later, we brought him back and joined our Maple Leaf Manor. Junior brother Li has never revealed his cultivation either. Father, you saw it just now. From the beginning to the end, junior brother Li did not reveal any cultivation at all. Yun Yao Yao was also extremely suspicious, but she did not want to suspect Li Lingtian. She was right. From the beginning to the end, Li Lingtian did not reveal any of his cultivation realm. Even when he was fighting against the imperial weapon, he did not reveal any of his cultivation. Sigh, I wonder if my Maple Leaf Manor is a blessing or a curse. Indeed, he didn't reveal his cultivation. That's why I'm so terrified. A person who didn't even use his cultivation could destroy a tier 9 martial king using an emperor weapon. What could be more terrifying than that? Could he be a hermit expert? Otherwise, how could he be so powerful? Yun Xiaoling sighed as he began to make guesses. However, he could not confirm it even after thinking about it countless times. In the end, he thought that Li Lingtian was a hermit powerhouse. He could not be blamed for being mysterious, as Li Lingtian's methods had truly frightened him. Even a martial emperor could not kill a martial king in an instant without revealing his true strength. Chapter 217, Chapter 217, Yun Xiaoling's Shock. Chapter 217, Yun Xiaoling's Shock. Li Lingtian did not care about what was happening outside. Since it had already happened, he couldn't regret it. Besides, he had been in Maple Leaf Manor for so long and had developed feelings for it. Naturally, he wouldn't let Maple Leaf Manor disappear just like that. Moreover, the people of the three great clans were too arrogant. They actually wanted to punish him. If they wanted to punish him, then so be it, but they shouldn't go too far. He didn't want to be arrogant. He just wanted to keep a low profile and cultivate. However, when he encountered something, he couldn't keep a low profile anymore. Being too low-key was not the life he wanted. Being too low-key was cowardice. In fact, he had long known that his life would not be peaceful. However, he did not expect it to come so soon. He thought that after he became a martial king, he would go out and look for these 1,000-year-old medicinal herbs. At that time, he would refine the illusion god pill in one fell swoop and become an alchemist, restoring his martial arts grandmaster realm. The Zhou family, Mu family, and Ling family were unlucky to have met him. As long as it wasn't too much, he wouldn't do anything to destroy his sect. During this period of time, he had learned that there were countless martial monarchs in the soliciting Moon Mountains. There might even be martial honors. Although he wasn't sure, he couldn't ignore it. If it was a martial emperor, he wouldn't have to do anything. The silver-winged flying dragon and the others could also take care of it. He only needed to cultivate and recover his cultivation in peace. During this period of time, although his cultivation had not recovered, he had improved all kinds of skills. This was also a blessing in disguise. If not for this disaster, his cultivation would have risen sharply, but he had neglected the power of the skill. In this world, there were gains and losses. His cultivation speed was extremely fast, but he had always missed out on some things. These things could only be slowly polished over time. Refining and nourishing treasures, reviewing cultivation skills, and calmly comprehending cultivation techniques were all things that could only be honed over time. Now, he had one more chance to suppress his cultivation, but he was slowly finding back what he had missed in the past. After all, he was only a 17 or 18-year-old youth. In just 3 or 4 years, he had experienced things that an old monster would not be able to experience in a few hundred years. In the room, he threw a peerless second-grade spirit-binding pill into his mouth and immediately began to cultivate. No matter when, he had to recover his cultivation and cultivate continuously. On the path of cultivation, only by maintaining diligent cultivation could one's cultivation advance. Seconds passed by. The heaven and earth reincarnation art in his body started to circulate. It digested the pill and quickly transformed the medicinal strength of the pill into true qi, which finally flowed into his dantian. Shu, Tier 3 warrior spirit, I've recovered. 20 minutes later, he had completed a large circulation. He was originally a Tier 2 warrior spirit, but after a great battle and the addition of this pill, he had recovered to Tier 3 warrior spirit in one fell swoop. The true qi in his body had become even denser. Li Lingtian found it strange because the density of the true qi was no different from that of the true essence. It was somewhere between the two. However, he quickly understood that he was a Wuzong and his body was also filled with true essence. It was just that his cultivation realm had fallen, so there was still a trace of true essence left in his body. In addition, his skills had not been crippled, which supported the density of his true energy. In this way, martial artists who used true energy were naturally useless in front of him. Come in. After tidying himself up, Li Lingtian called out to him. He had known that someone was coming from outside when he was cultivating, but he did not dare to disturb him when he realized that he was cultivating. When a warrior cultivated, as long as they had reached the martial king realm, they could feel a trace of spiritual energy fluctuation in the space. As long as there was a fluctuation of spiritual energy, it meant that someone was circulating or cultivating. Li Lingtian was the only one in the place, so he was naturally cultivating. Greetings, Senior. Junior had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Senior, please forgive me. Yun Xiaoling walked in and bowed respectfully like a junior. His expression was extremely respectful, just like an obedient baby. Yun Yaoyao also bowed gracefully. As such, Li Lingtian was taken aback. He immediately laughed loudly. He did not expect that this Yun Xiaoling would really treat him as a senior expert. Ha, it's really fun. Yao Yao, are you distant from me? Li Lingtian smiled. He felt an inexplicable sense of discomfort when he saw Yun Yaoyao's expression. The two of them had a good relationship, but now that they were bowing like this, they seemed to be estranged. He pointed with one hand and gestured for the two of them to sit down. In this place, he was the master. Furthermore, he exuded an aura of superiority that he was born with. No matter what, he carried the aura of a superior. This was also the cultivation technique he had cultivated and a habit he had for a long time. Dragon Chi was originally the aura of the dragon race. He had cultivated the dragon race's holy scripture, so he naturally carried the arrogance of the dragon race. The Heaven and Earth reincarnation technique was also a sacred scripture of heaven and earth. In addition, the divine array diagram carried the aura of a god. The divine artifact in his body also increased his aura, and he naturally had the aura of a superior. Seeing Li Lingtian's actions and recalling how Li Lingtian had easily killed a few martial kings, Yun Xiaoling was even more certain that the young man before him was a hermit powerhouse. This aura was not fake at all. Even if it was fake, it could not be fake. Junior brother. Yun Yaoyao was taken aback, but her heart leaped with joy. She did not like being so distant with Li Lingtian, but her father told her not to be rude since Li Lingtian might be a super powerhouse. He was feeling uncomfortable when he saluted earlier, but he was overjoyed when he heard Li Lingtian's words. It's fine. I'm also a disciple of Maple Leaf Manor. Yao Yao and I are still senior siblings. When Li Lingtian saw that Yun Xiaoling was about to speak up to stop Yun Yaoyao, he reached out and shook his hand to stop Yun Xiaoling from speaking. As for my identity, there's no need for you to know, but I can tell you that I'm not from the Azure continent. When I was ambushed by others, one used spatial translocation to come here. Fortunately, elder sister Yao Yao saved my life. As for my cultivation level, it's impossible for you to know. However, I can tell you that as long as I'm here, Maple Leaf Manor will be safe. Li Lingtian leaned back in his chair leisurely with a faint smile on his face as he stroked Little White's head with both hands. The snow-white fur became messy under his palm. Little White did not resist at all and even showed a look of enjoyment. He glanced at Yun Xiaoling and Yun Yaoyao and spoke indifferently, as if he was talking to himself. He did not care if the two of them stopped or not. He was not worried about that at all because Yun Xiaoling and Yun Yaoyao did not even dare to breathe loudly as they listened carefully to Li Lingtian's words. Both of them were shocked when they heard the last part. However, Li Lingtian's last sentence made Yun Xiaoling smile excitedly. He wasn't from the Azure continent, which meant that this young man had no enemies in the Azure continent. Spatial translocation. Although it sounded so calm, it stirred up a monstrous wave in Yun Xiaoling's heart. Spatial translocation was the same as crossing over. Crossing worlds to come, what kind of concept was that? The collapse of a martial king was simply unimaginable. Even if they didn't cross over, they would still be earth-shattering experts if they could come into contact with a mysterious existence like space. He was most concerned about the current crisis at Maple Leaf Villa. However, Li Lingtian had said that he could ensure the safety of Maple Leaf Villa. In other words, with him around, no one would dare to touch Maple Leaf Villa. Junior brother, did you really teleport here? Didn't you say that you don't have any cultivation? How are we going to defeat those martial kings? What Yun Yaoyao wanted to know the most was how Li Lingtian could easily kill a warrior king without any cultivation. She thought about how he had quietly ambushed a dozen warrior spirits during the small gathering. Now that he thought about it, those warrior spirits who were on the brink of death did not even know about Li Lingtian's strength. Furthermore, Li Lingtian wanted to go to the toilet. It turned out that he had already known that someone would intercept them on the way. Hence, he took the initiative to eliminate the Zhou and Ling clan's disciples. Hey! During the battle, the light of God's wrath was attracted. I was the first to bear the brunt of the light of God's wrath. In the end, one don't know anything. No cultivation. Indeed, one don't have any cultivation. However, this is only temporary. Even without cultivation, some martial kings are just ants in front of me. Hearing Yun Yaoyao's question, Li Lingtian did not want to disappoint her, so he gave a vague account of his loss. As for the war, he did not even need to mention it. That's right. When Yun Bing and I were waiting for the star spirit, we heard the sound of something falling to the ground and the sound of blood spurting out. It turns out that junior brother was transferred here at that time. Yun Yaoyao was reminded of what happened that day after hearing Li Lingtian's words. The dull thud was the sound of Li Lingtian falling to the ground. He then fell unconscious. There was nothing wrong with that. The two of them were talking enthusiastically, but Yun Xiaoling was stunned. He was extremely shocked. He was a martial king. Although he didn't know much, he knew about the light of God's fury. The legendary light of God's fury could destroy all living beings. Moreover, the light of divine wrath was a forbidden skill used by a super expert, so there was a 1 in a billion chance of attracting the light of divine wrath. He did not expect the young man in front of him to actually trigger the God's fury light. What level of strength had he reached? Furthermore, the fact that he could survive under the divine rage was simply a myth. I'll give you a list of ingredients for Yao Yao's 9 absolute meridians after some time. As long as I find all the ingredients, 1 foot 11 inches, think of a way to refine a cauldron of pills. With Yao Yao's constitution, pills, and my cultivation technique, it should be enough. Li Lingtian seemed to have thought of something. Since he had already spoken his mind, there was nothing to hide. Moreover, no one would believe what he said. In the Azure continent, no one knew him, so there was no need to worry about this. He didn't want Yun Yaoyao to be tortured on the verge of death. She was a peerless beauty and shouldn't be tortured like this. Chapter 218, Chapter 218, Mu Family, 1. Chapter 218, Mu Family, 1. Junior brother, aren't you here to make me happy? Can you solve Yao Yao's 9 absolute meridians? Please forgive me for being overly excited. Yun Yaoyao was stunned for a moment before she became excited. She looked at Li Lingtian seriously. The 9 absolute meridians could only be resolved by a Tier 5 Alchemist's elixir and miraculous methods. How could this junior brother in front of her have a solution? Yun Xiaoling was also shocked. Yun Yaoyao's physique was so strong that even after exhausting all his energy, he still couldn't do anything about it. Yet, the young man in front of him said it so easily. He immediately cried out in surprise. However, when he thought of how magical this young man was, he thought that if he doubted him like this, he would be finished if the other party got angry. After saying that, he hurriedly apologized. Yao Yao, chat with me for a while. They won't die if they don't seek death. As long as the disciples of Maple Leaf Manor don't go out and cause trouble, they won't be in trouble. Li Lingtian shook his head and told Yun Yaoyao. Naturally, Yun Xiaoling could sense Li Lingtian's intention to chase him away. He then cupped his fists and left. Upon hearing Li Lingtian's words, he nodded earnestly. Yun Xiaoling gradually relaxed. This young man was a disciple of the Maple Leaf Manor, and the danger of the Maple Leaf Manor could be guaranteed. When she came in, she had a lot on her mind, but when she left, she was much more relaxed. Her face was also filled with joy. Yao Yao, will I eat you? After Yun Xiaoling left, Li Lingtian looked at Yun Yao Yao's expression and burst into laughter. The atmosphere in the courtyard, which was originally a little dull, suddenly relaxed. Although Yun Yao Yao had many things she wanted to know, she already knew a lot. The things that worried her the most had disappeared. She was worried that Li Lingtian's identity would ruin their friendship. However, she was relieved to see Li Lingtian like this. Moreover, Li Lingtian had promised to help her resolve the problem of her 9 terminal meridians. He had given her too many surprises today. That day, he did not expect that he would save this young man's life and the two of them would become friends. Moreover, this young man was a super expert. I'm not afraid. I'm your senior sister. Yun Yao Yao smiled. For a moment, the two of them were no longer restrained and returned to their usual calm and laughter. Following that, Li Lingtian guided Yun Yao Yao on her cultivation. Since she had the 9 absolute meridians, cultivating a water-type cultivation method would be twice the result with half the effort. With Li Lingtian's guidance, he would not take the wrong path. Yun Yao Yao was excited as well. Some of the cultivation problems that she could not understand in the past were now a piece of cake for Li Lingtian. The two of them were cultivating in the courtyard. Outside, the disciples of Maple Leaf Manor were still in shock. During this period of time, don't leave the manor. Just cultivate in the manor. Don't hit Sir Ling Tian unless there's something important. He's still him. Don't tell anyone about Maple Leaf Manor. Yun Xiaoling gathered all the disciples together and spoke in a serious tone. All the disciples understood that Li Lingtian was no longer the junior brother without any cultivation but a powerhouse. When the disciples thought about it, they no longer had any doubts. An alchemist who could refine high-grade medicinal pills was definitely not simple. It turned out that he was a super expert. Naturally, there was no need to say anything. Now that there was a super expert in Maple Leaf Manor, even a few big families would not easily provoke Maple Leaf Manor. However, it would not be so easy to refine medicinal pills in the future. After all, he now knew that the other party was an expert. Soon after, Yun Xiaoling collected the storage pouches of over 30 warrior spirits and 4 warrior kings and personally delivered them to Li Lingtian's courtyard. However, Li Lingtian did not even bother to look at them. Li Lingtian did not even spare a glance at the breeze/inferior imperial weapon when he asked Yun Xiaoling to distribute the wealth to his disciples. This situation shocked Yun Xiaoling even more. He did not even look at the emperor weapon. What kind of person was this? Then, he recalled that Li Lingtian had not used any weapons from the beginning to the end. He had killed all the warriors with just 2 simple moves. Maple Leaf Manor was fine, but the Mu clan, Zhou clan, and Ling clan couldn't sit still. The martial king they sent out did not return. Even the warrior spirit disciples did not return. The Mu clan was going crazy. Mu Ao was a peak tier 9 martial king. With his emperor weapon, even a tier 1 martial grandmaster would not be able to kill him. But now that he had gone to Maple Leaf Manor, there was no news of him. Could it be that someone from Purple Wind's sect is in Maple Leaf Manor? With Ao's strength, even a master of the first rank wouldn't be able to kill him. Mu Tu looked anxious. He was Mu Ao's father and a first-level martial emperor. Without any news of his only son, he was naturally restless. The people from the Purple Wind sect haven't been to the Maple Leaf Manor in the past 2 years. Naturally, they can't be from the Purple Wind sect. Only a martial arts grandmaster can defeat Ao. Last year, young Master Lu of the Purple Wind sect wanted to marry Yun Yao Yao from Maple Leaf Manor, but she rejected him. From then on, Maple Leaf Manor was almost abandoned by the Purple Wind sect. Naturally, it couldn't be the Purple Wind sect. Mu Yu said seriously. This matter was an open secret in the soliciting Moon Mountains. If a disciple of a super sect wanted to marry a woman from a subordinate family, it would naturally be the honor of the subordinate family. This way, they could fly up to the branch and become a phoenix. However, they never expected to be rejected. This was naturally a huge loss of face. In the soliciting Moon Mountains, the Purple Winds sect had become a laughing stock in the eyes of countless low-level disciples because of this incident. Mu Yu was also a genius disciple of the Mu family. She was only a few years older than Mu Ao, but her cultivation had reached the 3rd level of the martial arts grandmaster. It was Mu Ao's cousin. Mu Ao's death should have upset him, but in his heart, he was very excited. In the clan, there was constant competition. He naturally did not want Mu Ao to become a core disciple of the clan. We have to start with the Purple Winds sect to put some pressure on them. Let them deal with it themselves. Killing the disciples of the Mu family is courting death. Mu Laitian said coldly. The current clan leader was a 6th-level martial emperor. Naturally, he had to show his clan leader's aura. The Mu clan was much stronger than the Purple Winds sect. With the Zhou clan and Ling clan's influence, even the Purple Winds sect would have to submit obediently. All of this had nothing to do with Li Lingtian of Maple Leaf Villa. He was currently lying on a chair and sleeping soundly. Yun Yaoyao, on the other hand, was focused on her cultivation. With an omnipotent junior brother like Li Lingtian, her cultivation progress was extremely fast. Li Lingtian also cultivated at night. During the day, he practiced some skills and comprehended some cultivation techniques. In his spare time, he would refine some pills. However, he also spent 2 hours a day refining pills for the disciples of Maple Leaf Manor. Initially, the disciples of Maple Leaf Manor did not dare to ask Li Lingtian for a pill refinement. However, a Tier 6 warrior spirit disciple who had reached a bottleneck in his cultivation took the risk to ask Li Lingtian for a pill refinement. She thought that Li Lingtian was going to reject her, but she did not expect him to refine the pill without any hesitation. Moreover, he also said that he would refine pills for his fellow disciples for 2 hours every day, unless there were some unexpected things. Junior brother Li, when I was cultivating the purple cloud technique, I always felt that something was wrong. Although my cultivation increased very quickly, I felt that my meridians were getting weaker and weaker. A Tier 1 warrior spirit disciple had a bitter look on his face as he bowed respectfully to Li Lingtian and voiced his question. They knew how powerful Li Lingtian was, so these things were just a piece of cake for him. Show me the purple cloud technique. Li Lingtian casually glanced at the young man before him as he spoke. Thank you, junior brother. The young man handed over a jade slip with an excited expression. If someone else asked him for his cultivation technique, he would never give it to them. In the divine martial continent, no one would ask for the cultivation technique of the other party, let alone ask for it. However, this junior brother in front of him was omnipotent. Now, he was asking for his help. Moreover, he also understood that this junior brother in front of him did not care about his cultivation techniques at all. Li Lingtian scanned the jade slip with his divine perception. It was an ordinary advanced yellow tier cultivation method, but it was incomplete and could not be cultivated. Don't use this jade slip. The cultivation technique is incomplete, so you naturally can't cultivate it. As Li Lingtian spoke, he clenched his fist and the jade slip turned into ashes. He then took out a blank jade slip from his storage pouch and inserted his divine perception into the blank jade slip to record the purple cloud technique. However, he had modified the he had inscribed. He had definitely perfected the flaws of the and was even more powerful than the real. After doing everything, he threw the jade slip to the young man and waved his hand, signaling for the young man to leave. The young man held the jade slip with an excited expression. They naturally understood one thing, and that was that dragons did not make enemies with ants. Naturally, Li Lingtian would not joke around with him since he had destroyed his cultivation technique jade slip. Now that he had made a new jade slip, the problem with the cultivation technique must have been solved by this junior brother. The young man respectfully bowed and left. After leaving the courtyard, he had a curious expression on his face. His divine sense entered the jade slip, and his expression changed drastically. In the end, he became excited. This was the real purple cloud technique. All his problems were solved in this jade slip. As long as he cultivated according to the purple cloud technique in this jade slip, his problems would be solved. Moreover, he might be able to cultivate faster than before. Li Lingtian encountered such situations every day. He spent 2 hours either helping the disciples refine elixirs or solving their cultivation problems. In the end, even a few warrior kings came to him for help. In front of Li Lingtian, these things were all at his fingertips. He cultivated the cannon, and his cultivation techniques were all earth-grade skills. They had also reached the limit, so naturally, there was nothing that could stump him. Time passed day by day. It had been 10 days since he had killed the 3 family disciples. However, after 10 days, Li Lingtian did not think that these people would let Maple Leaf Manor go. Instead, he was just waiting for an opportunity. As expected, Yun Yaoyao came to the courtyard while Li Lingtian was cultivating. She informed him that the Purple Wind sect, the Zhou, Mu, and Ling clans were here as well. Li Lingtian nodded and gestured for Yun Yaoyao to leave. Sigh, there are always some trash coming to disturb me. They're simply courting death. After Yun Yaoyao left, Li Lingtian stood up and sighed. He then composed himself and walked out. Chapter 219, Chapter 219, Refining Pills in Public. Chapter 219, Refining Pills in Public. When Li Lingtian arrived at the living room, Yun Xiaoling and the 6 warrior kings were gathered there. Their expressions were a little solemn. Opposite them were 4 martial arts grandmasters. Although the 4 martial arts grandmasters were all at the first rank, their strength was very deep. They were much stronger than the martial artists in Green Island. He was certain that the Azure Continent's martial artists were no match for the Azure Continent's martial artists. This was because of the cultivation techniques and skills. There were abundant resources here, so the cultivation techniques were naturally much stronger. Ling Tian, come, let me introduce you. This is Elder Wang Haotian of the Purple Wind sect, young Master Mu Yu of the Mu family, Elder Ling Yun of the Ling family, and Elder Zhou Yunjun of the Zhou family. When Yun Xiaoling saw Li Lingtian's arrival, he carefully sized him up, trying to see the changes in Li Lingtian's expression when he faced these martial arts grandmasters. This was because he could tell Li Lingtian's background from his expression. However, he was disappointed. Li Lingtian's expression was calm and emotionless. No one knew what he was thinking. However, Yun Xiaoling was relieved. At least Li Lingtian was neither shocked nor disdainful when he saw the 8 martial arts grandmaster. This meant that Li Lingtian was not afraid of martial arts grandmasters. He was prepared to address Li Lingtian as, your lord, but under such circumstances, it was inappropriate to draw their attention to Li Lingtian. However, he introduced the 4 martial arts grandmaster powerhouses to Li Lingtian so that he could be prepared. The 4 martial arts grandmasters looked at the young man who had no cultivation. The arrival of this young man surprised them. The people present were all elders of Maple Leaf Manor. The 4 of them were elders of the 3 major families and Purple Wind sect, and they were super martial arts grandmasters. Yun Xiaoling pushing out a youth without any cultivation made them somewhat puzzled. However, what happened next infuriated the 4 martial arts grandmasters. The young man in front of them did not react at all after being introduced by Yun Xiaoling. They had thought that this disciple would bow respectfully in shock, but this was beyond their expectations. Yes. Li Lingtian nodded gently. Moreover, he only nodded at Yun Xiaoling as if he was saying that he understood. He completely ignored the existence of the 4 martial arts grandmasters and sat casually on a seat. This seat was actually in front of them. Yun Xiaoling was shocked as well. Li Lingtian was looking for trouble by ignoring these grandmasters. Junior, don't you have any manners in Maple Leaf Manor? Elder Wang Haotian of Purple Wind's sect couldn't sit still anymore. He was being ignored by a disciple of a subordinate force. He had no face left. If he didn't teach this disciple a lesson, he wouldn't be able to appease his hatred. Initially, he didn't have anything good to say about Maple Leaf Manor. Now, he hated Maple Leaf Manor even more. Hee, Brother Wang, the slaves under your Purple Wind sect are getting better and better. Mu Yu smiled, his expression extremely cold. Although this young man didn't have a cultivation base, he was handsome and elegant, making him jealous from the bottom of his heart. However, he knew his limits. He came here to ask Purple Wind sect to give up on Maple Leaf Manor. When the time came, they would wipe out Maple Leaf Manor. Then, they would forget about the deaths of the Zhou family and Ling family disciples and ask Maple Leaf Manor and Purple Wind sect to compensate them. This would be the perfect ending. Yun Xiaoling, do you want me to take action? If you don't give a good result to the disciple you're disciplining, just this disciple's matter alone will make your Maple Leaf Manor a slave of my Purple Wind sect in the future. Wang Haotian looked at Mu Yu coldly. He was furious. He would send Zifeng to deal with the matters in Maple Leaf Villa. There was no need for the Mu family to interfere. However, the Mu family could not afford to offend the Purple Wind sect now, so they could only endure it. He looked at Yun Xiaoling with a sharp gaze, completely ignoring the rude young man in front of him. This. Elder Wang, let me introduce you. This is our Maple Leaf Villa disciple, Li Lingtian. Although he doesn't have a cultivation base, he's an alchemist. Li Lingtian did not even look at the 4 martial arts grandmasters and Yun Xiaoling. He wanted to see how Yun Xiaoling handled things. He also wanted to know how bold Yun Xiaoling was. If he did not have that courage, he would not be worth his help. Yun Xiaoling was taken aback. He was in a dilemma when faced with Wang Haotian's accusation. On one side was the martial arts grandmaster's elder, and on the other was the mysterious powerhouse, Li Lingtian. If they blamed Li Lingtian, they would definitely offend him. If they did not deal with Li Lingtian, they would not know how to answer to Wang Haotian. His heart raced, and he quickly changed the topic. He began to think about what choice he should make. Oh, an alchemist without any cultivation? Without cultivation, even if he were to refine pills, it would only be some ordinary pills. Such a pill refiner is basically useless. Ling Yun said coldly, his face full of disdain. The Ling family had many pill refiners, including a spirit alchemist. Naturally, they looked down on pill refiners without cultivation. In the divine martial continent, without cultivation, it was impossible to refine any good pills. Good pills needed to be complemented by a strong cultivation. Ignorant. Li Lingtian lifted his head and shot a disdainful glance at Ling Yun. He was simply an amateur when it came to saying such words. In the divine martial continent, even though one needed to have a profound cultivation base to refine pills, it was an exception in front of him. This was also the reason why Ling Yun met Li Lingtian. In other places, what he said would definitely make sense. Without a good cultivation, one would be powerless when refining pills. Li Lingtian's voice was like thunder in the quiet living room. He actually insulted the martial arts grandmaster in front of him. The disdain in his eyes almost drove people crazy. The 4 martial grandmasters, Yun Xiaoling, and the 6 martial kings looked at Li Lingtian in shock. The entire atmosphere was like a powder keg that had been ignited. You're courting death. Ling Yun's face was livid. He could forget about being rude to them at the start, but now he was scolding him for his ignorance in front of everyone. How could he endure this? A shocking aura burst out from his body. Instantly, the entire living room seemed to be about to explode. The aura of a martial arts grandmaster suppressed Yun Xiaoling and the others. They could not even breathe. A terrifying pressure pressed down on Li Lingtian. In the blink of an eye, the destructive pressure descended from the sky. Wang Haotian, Mu Yu, and Zhou Yunjuan's expressions changed as well. They didn't expect Ling Yun to be so powerful. In the past, their strengths were almost the same, but now, it seemed that Ling Yun had already reached the peak of stage 1 and was one step into stage 2. The few of them were shocked by Ling Yun's strength. They completely disregarded the young man, Li Lingtian. In their opinion, Li Lingtian would be crushed to death by such a force. However, at this moment, an even more terrifying pressure soared into the sky. This pressure carried a shocking demonic power and a mysterious aura. The snow-white rabbit in Li Lingtian's arms was staring at Ling Yun with its blood-red eyes. It was the source of the terrifying pressure. Boom! With a loud explosion, all the furniture in the living room turned into ashes. The two forces collided, and Ling Yun spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was filled with shock. His body quickly retreated and only stopped when he hit the pillar in the living room. His body fell weakly, and his eyes were filled with fear. At the same time, everyone in the living room spat out a mouthful of blood, their faces pale with fear. Li Lingtian was the only one who was sitting on the chair with Little White in his arms. His expression was calm and his smile remained. A light shield appeared on Mu Yu's body. However, the light shield was extremely weak and could be shattered at any moment. There was blood at the corner of his mouth. He was a rank 3 martial arts grandmaster, much stronger than Wang Haotian and Zhou Yunjun, who were rank 1 martial arts grandmasters. However, their faces were filled with fear. In an instant, the 3 martial arts grandmasters retreated and stood on the open ground. They looked at Li Lingtian from afar and channeled their true essence. They were deeply afraid of the young man who had no cultivation before them. I say you are ignorant because you have too little knowledge. Since I say you are ignorant, then one will make you admit defeat. The 3 of you, don't leave. Watch how I refine pills. One don't like to be disturbed when 1 a.m. refining pills. Li Lingtian stood up and walked out step by step. Little White was still asleep in his arms. It acted as if everything that had happened earlier had nothing to do with it. The 3 martial arts grandmasters and the injured Ling Yun retreated as if they had seen a ghost. He glanced at the 4 martial arts grandmasters and tossed Little White away as if it was trash. However, just as Little White was about to land on the ground, it appeared on Li Lingtian's shoulder. The few martial arts grandmasters, as well as Yun Xiaoling and the others who came out of the living room, were all extremely shocked. The one who had just emitted a shocking pressure was this snow-white rabbit. What kind of powerful demonic beast was this rabbit? It could actually injure a martial arts grandmaster with just a casual wave of pressure. However, this powerful demonic beast was being tossed around like trash by Li Lingtian. What kind of person was this? The 7 warrior kings and 4 martial arts grandmasters were horrified when they saw Little White on Li Lingtian's shoulder. Alchemy requires the integration of body, mind, spirit, and will. Only then can one enter the world of alchemy. An alchemist who only has a physical form and no spirit will not be able to refine good pills. 2. Let me show you what pill Dao is and what pill concoction is. Li Lingtian completely ignored the powerhouses present. Many Maple Leaf Villa disciples had also arrived at the open space. They were filled with admiration when they saw Li Lingtian talking to the few martial arts grandmasters. Furthermore, they realized that the martial arts grandmasters were actually deeply afraid of their junior brother. Li Lingtian, on the other hand, paid no heed to these people. Instead, he explained earnestly as he took out the pill cauldron and carefully examined it. As if he was looking at a beloved person, he took out 7 to 8 medicinal herbs. These medicinal herbs were all 100-year-old and were well preserved. They were as fresh as if they had just been picked. Following that, Li Lingtian gave a serious explanation as he skillfully selected the herbs and condensed the spirit fire with spiritual stones. He was skilled, just like a pill refining grandmaster. Everyone was stunned. Chapter 220, Jade-Eyed Beast's Breakthrough. Chapter 220, Jade-Eyed Beast's Breakthrough. The herbs were all 100-year-old and very precious. Everyone could tell that Li Lingtian was very particular about the ingredients when he was refining pills. Could it be that he is refining a Tier 3 medicinal pili? Refining a Grade 2 pill with 100-year-old medicinal ingredients, the quality definitely won't be bad. If you can refine a Tier 3 medicinal pill, then you're an alchemy grandmaster. Everyone was discussing softly. The four Wuzongs were also extremely surprised and even more afraid. The young man was too terrifying. However, they did not dare to leave without Li Lingtian's permission. In an instant, the expressions on their faces kept changing. Collect the pills. 20 minutes had passed but Li Lingtian's expression remained unchanged. He was not distracted at all and remained focused. In the end, after the spiritual qi between heaven and earth entered the cauldron, spells were cast one after another, and finally, the cauldron opened. A string of light and shadow shot out, forming a line that kept spinning in the air. What a rich medicinal fragrance. The spiritual energy of this pill is so dense. It's a Tier 4 medicinal pill. Tier 4 high-grade medicinal pill. Seeing the pill in the air, everyone revealed greedy expressions. They were completely attracted by the fragrance of the pill. The few martial arts grandmasters and martial kings were shocked because the spiritual energy of this pill was rich. The quality of the pill must be very good. In the end, he discovered that this medicinal pill was actually a 4th-grade purple jade pill. Li Lingtian's expression did not change. A jade bottle appeared and the pills were sucked into it. The 4 pills streaked through the air and arrived in front of the 4 martial arts grandmasters. The pill floated in the air, but one could clearly see that it was a 4th-grade purple jade pill. The purple jade pill, a 4th-grade pill, was easily refined in 20 minutes. More importantly, this pill was of high quality. Judging from the light shadow that was spinning in the air just now, there should be 69 pills in this cauldron. To be able to concoct a high-grade 4th-grade pill in 20 minutes with a success rate of 69 pills, who else in the soliciting Moon Mountain range could compare to such alchemy skills? Even an alchemist didn't have such powerful alchemy skills. The expressions on the faces of the 4 martial arts grandmasters turned ugly. Offending an alchemy master was unwise. Offending a young top alchemy grandmaster who could easily refine a high-grade Tier 4 pill was even more unwise. Get lost. I just want to refine pills in peace. One don't like to be disturbed when I'm refining pills. With a flick of Li Lingtian's finger, 4 high-grade Tier 4 purple jade pills turned into spirit qi and vanished into thin air. The 4 precious Tier 4 pills were gone just like that. Such a pill would cost at least several thousand low-grade spirit stones outside, but it was easily turned into spiritual energy by him. This was the boldness of an alchemist. Medicinal pills were completely different in front of him because they had the ability to casually refine such medicinal pills. Sorry to disturb you. Upon hearing Li Lingtian's words, the 4 martial arts grandmaster powerhouses glanced at the snow-white rabbit on Li Lingtian's shoulder in fear before they left with cupped fists. He came and went in a hurry, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared from Maple Leaf Manor. They understood that they had kicked an iron plate this time. The young man in front of them was mysterious and terrifying, and the snow-white rabbit beside him was even more terrifying. More importantly, this young man was a top-notch alchemy grandmaster. In terms of alchemy Dao, even spirit alchemists could not compare. He had just used an extremely short period of time to refine a level 4 medicinal pill in front of everyone. If he was alone, it was hard to guarantee that he would be able to refine a level 5 medicinal pill. Moreover, being able to refine a Tier 4 medicinal pill to a high-grade quality in a short while was absolutely not what alchemy grandmasters could do. They did not dare to make a decision on this matter. Moreover, if they really stayed, they would stay forever. Seeing the 4 martial arts grandmasters leave dejectedly, Xiaoling and the rest were extremely excited. Furthermore, he had witnessed Li Lingtian's strength and his alchemy skills. Take it. With a wave of Li Lingtian's hand, the jade bottle in his hand flew out and quickly arrived in front of Yun Xiaoling. Before Yun Xiaoling could react, he reached out and caught it. It was only after he caught it that he realized that it was a Tier 4 advanced purple jade pill. After handing the pills to Yun Xiaoling, Li Lingtian turned around and headed back to his residence. He did not kill these 4 martial arts grandmasters because he did not want to make things awkward. Moreover, he needed time to recuperate now and could not easily make enemies. He had given the other party a show of strength and stopped when he was done, so that the other party did not know his depth. Coupled with his pill Dao techniques, he believed that as long as the other party was not an idiot, they would not offend him. If the other party had any bad intentions, he would not be someone to provoke. After this incident, the Maple Leaf Villa warriors had even more respect for Li Lingtian. A martial king was easily killed, and now even a martial arts grandmaster had fled. Coupled with his alchemy skills, no one would not respect and envy him. Li Lingtian returned to his residence to cultivate. However, he suddenly noticed something unusual in the divine dragon ring. His expression changed and he asked Little White to stand guard outside. Then, he sent his spiritual awareness into the divine dragon ring. When he entered the divine dragon ring, his face revealed an excited expression. He didn't expect the Jade-Eyed beast to advance. Originally, the Jade-Eyed beast was at the 4th step, level 9. Now, the Jade-Eyed beast was already at the peak of the 4th step, level 9. Catch it! Li Lingtian tossed a few heavenly monster pills over when he saw the situation. With these heavenly monster pills and the Jade-Eyed beast's current demonic power, it would be easier for him to break through. The Jade-Eyed beast opened its mouth and swallowed the 6 heaven fey cores when it saw the pills flying toward it. Instantly, the demonic power in its entire body skyrocketed. The dragon chi in the divine dragon ring was also pressing towards this side. Under the pressure of the dragon chi, the monster power in the Jade-Eyed beast's body had reached a critical point. Roar! With a roar of excitement, the 4th tier level 9 successfully advanced to the 5th tier level 1 demonic beast. Although it was only a distance of 1 tier, the difference between tier 4, level 9, and tier 5, level 1, was like the difference between heaven and earth. Li Lingtian was extremely excited to see the Jade-Eyed beast successfully enter tier 5. The Jade-Eyed beast advancing at this time was no different from his own breakthrough. Now that his cultivation had disappeared, he needed protection. The stronger the Jade-Eyed beast was, the more secure he would be. Now, he had 2 5th-level demonic beasts and 2 4th-level demonic beasts. With such strength, he could even resist a 9th-level martial emperor. He left the divine dragon ring with a faint smile on his face and started cultivating. When the Jade-Eyed beast broke through, it would naturally be safer for him. However, when he encountered experts, he still had to rely on himself. Although Xiao Bai had revealed a little of her strength, she had obtained the desired effect. The 3 big families and Purple Wind sect no longer came to cause trouble for Maple Leaf Manor. It was as if this matter had never happened. Moreover, Li Lingtian's reputation as an alchemist had gradually spread throughout the Soliciting Moon Mountains. He was able to refine a high-grade tier 4 pill within 20 minutes. Even the alchemists of the Soliciting Moon Mountain range could not do such a thing. Naturally, the 3 major clans would not do anything stupid to provoke Li Lingtian. The Purple Wind sect had also sent a tier 6 martial arts grandmaster powerhouse to comfort Maple Leaf Manor. They naturally wanted to rope in such a person. Moreover, this person was a disciple of their subsidiary strength. The pavilion closest to the water would benefit first. If they were pulled away by other forces, it would be strange if they didn't cry to death. However, Li Lingtian had never seen this tier 6 warrior ascendant powerhouse. He had always used the excuse of refining pills and going into seclusion as an excuse. Moreover, many warriors suspected that Li Lingtian had concealed his cultivation base. Otherwise, he would not have been so bold. In this way, Li Lingtian was pleased as he could cultivate in peace to recover his cultivation base. As the days passed, Li Lingtian used a Tier 3 elixir to recover his cultivation. A month later, his cultivation had reached Tier 9 warrior spirit. As long as he found the right opportunity, he would be able to break through to the Martial King realm. As long as he reached the Martial King realm, he would have some strength to protect himself. This way, he could also search for thousand-year-old medicinal herbs in peace. He could find a few thousand-year-old medicinal herbs to refine the soul-restoring pill, break through to the spirit alchemist realm, and recover the martial arts grandmaster realm. At Maple Leaf Villa, everyone was respectful to Li Lingtian. Even though they appeared easygoing, they were still extremely respectful. Only Yun Yaoyao, Yun Bing, and Xingling did not feel restrained around Li Lingtian. Yun Yaoyao was even more confident that Li Lingtian could refine a grade 5 elixir to resolve her 9 Yin terminal meridians. This period of time was also the happiest time for Yun Yaoyao. On this day, Li Lingtian took out a jade slip and handed it to Yun Yaoyao. This jade slip contains the medicinal ingredients that I need. As long as one find these medicinal ingredients, I can refine a Tier 5 medicinal pill. You also have a chance to resolve your 9 Yin absolute meridians. Li Lingtian replied earnestly. He rarely left the courtyard and Yun Yaoyao would pass on some of his messages to Yun Xiaoling. He found it funny. He needed a soul-restoring pill to recover his martial ancestor realm, and Yun Yaoyao needed a 5th-grade pill to remove her 9 Yin terminated meridians. This soul-restoring pill was useful for the two of them. Really? That's great. I'll get father to look for the medicinal herbs needed inside. Yun Yaoyao was so happy that her little face turned red. Although Li Lingtian had previously mentioned refining a grade 5 pill to remove her 9 Yin terminated meridians, he had never put it into practice. How could she not be excited when Li Lingtian asked for medicinal herbs to refine pills? In her eyes, this junior brother of hers was omnipotent. As long as she found the medicinal ingredients, she could refine the pill and solve her 9 Yin absolute meridians. Without the 9 Yin absolute meridians, he would not be threatened by death. After he finished speaking, a string of sparkling tears fell from his face. He was already 18 years old and only had 2 years left to live. She was in the prime of her youth and was about to die young. Although she looked happy every day, she was still a young girl. How could he really let go? His beautiful youth had disappeared into dust just like that. Naturally, he was unwilling. What was the use of being unwilling? Because she didn't have a 5th-grade medicinal pill or a mystical cultivation method, she could only bear the arrangement of fate. However, Li Lingtian's appearance had brought her hope and the hope of rebirth. Yao Yao sis. Li Lingtian called out softly but did not say anything. He merely gave an encouraging look with a faint smile on his face. There was no need for him to say anything more. He was also very impressed with this girl. It was really not easy for a young girl to be able to do this. Chapter 221, Chapter 221, Refining the Soul Restoring Pill. Chapter 221, Refining the Soul Restoring Pill. Thank you, junior brother. Yun Yaoyao wiped her tears away with a silk handkerchief. Her face blushed as she thanked him softly. This was also the first time she had shed tears after learning about her 9 Yin absolute meridians, and it was in front of a man. Then, he took the jade slip and left the courtyard, handing it to Yun Xiaoling. Before he left, Li Lingtian even told him that he would purchase the herb himself if he had any information on the herb or if he could not obtain it. After Yun Xiaoling received the jade scroll, he was stunned when he saw that the herbs inside were all 1,000-year-old. Although he was already mentally prepared that a grade 5 pill required 1,000 years of medicinal herbs, Maple Leaf Manor simply could not produce such medicinal herbs at the moment. There were no spirit stones or medicinal herbs. A clan could be considered to be at the end of their rope when they reached this stage. Although the Maple Leaf Manor was a family, most of the people were disciples of the Maple Leaf Manor. The manor did not have any spirit stones, and the disciples below were also poor. Father, junior brother Li said that we just need to get the information and whereabouts of the medicinal herbs. He will think of a way. Yun Yaoyao felt terrible when she saw her father's state. Over the past few years, the manor had been in a dire situation in order to find pills for her and remove her 9 yin terminal meridians. Fortunately, there was junior brother Li at this time. Otherwise, there was really no other way. Hey! Yun Xiaoling only sighed. Li Lingtian had not been in Maple Leaf Villa for long and had given him a lot of trouble. If it were not for Li Lingtian, Maple Leaf Villa would have been finished. She could only feel guilty and grateful for Li Lingtian's help in Maple Leaf Villa. After that, the disciples of Maple Leaf Manor went around asking about the whereabouts of the 7,000-year-old herbs. What they didn't expect was that the 7,000-year-old herbs were easily obtained, and it was someone else who delivered them to their doorstep. When the disciples of Maple Leaf Manor were searching for medicinal herbs, the news was leaked. Many martial artists were envious when they learned that Maple Leaf Manor was going to refine a 5th-grade pill. Maple Leaf Manor concocted Tier 5 pills, which meant that Maple Leaf Manor had a spirit alchemist. The only possibility of being an alchemist was Li Lingtian. Only his alchemy skills were so powerful. Brother Yun, I heard that Your Excellency Apothecary Ling Tian is going to refine a medicinal pill and is lacking a few medicinal ingredients. I happen to have a 1,000-year snow jade flower here, and since one don't have much use for it, it would be best to give it to you. A martial arts grandmaster from the Chen family smiled as he handed a box containing a 1,000-year snow jade flower to Yun Xiaoling. Yun Xiaoling had seen this expression and smile many times over the past few days. At first, he was at a loss, but he slowly got used to it because all of this was directed at Li Lingtian. A 1,000-year-old medicinal herb was just a stalk of medicinal herb for those who did not need it. However, for those who needed it, it was definitely a timely help. Such a medicinal herb would only cost 10,000 spirit stones outside. 10,000 spiritual stones was a shocking amount of wealth for a low-level martial artist, but it was a piece of cake for a martial arts grandmaster. Moreover, it was worth it to be able to use this medicinal herb to curry favor with a spirit pill master. Although these people who sent the medicinal herbs were only martial arts masters, they were also instructed by some large families. The large families cared about their reputation and could only let their subordinates suck up to them. In just a few days, the ingredients for the soul-restoring pill had reached 2 to 3 cauldrons. Li Lingtian shook his head as he looked at the ingredients. The medicinal ingredients had all been found, and it was time to refine the pill. Li Lingtian did not cultivate for the past 2 days. Instead, he was studying the Tier 5 spirit-restoring pills recipe. He spent most of his time resting and trying to adjust his mental state to its peak. His state of mind also slowly calmed down. An alchemist had to be calm at all times. He was undoubtedly an excellent alchemist. The Ice Soul Martial Soul and the Flaming Sacred Body were the perfect physiques for alchemists. After resting for 3 days, Li Lingtian waved his hand continuously and cast a series of magic arts. The divine array diagram was also suspended in the courtyard. In a short 10 minutes, formations covered the entire courtyard. Moreover, there were 3 spirit gathering arrays floating in the air in a triangular formation. Refining a 5th-grade medicinal pill required a huge amount of spiritual energy. He did not want to have any trouble with the spiritual energy at the last moment of refining the medicinal pill. Fire Spiritual Array, activate. After doing everything, he cast a small fire spirit array. With the flaming sacred body, he could control everything about the fire element. The heaven and earth creation cauldron appeared as soon as the fire spirit array appeared. The cauldron slowly spun above the fire spirit array. Beside him were more than 20 kinds of medicinal herbs. There were medicinal herbs that were 500 years old and 1,000 years old. Warming the cauldron. A spell was cast, and the temperature of the fire spirit array rose. The heaven and earth creation cauldron also began to rotate rapidly. 2 minutes passed. The temperature of the heaven and earth creation cauldron had already reached the level of refining medicine. Warming the cauldron was also a skill. The temperature of the pill cauldron was directly related to the quality of the pill and the success rate of the pill. If the temperature was too high, the medicinal herbs would instantly turn into charcoal. If the temperature was too low, the impurities inside the medicinal herbs would not be able to be raised when they were refined. Refining medicine. After the cauldron was warmed up, a 500-year-old herb entered the cauldron. Li Lingtian's eyes were fixed on the cauldron as his divine perception locked onto it. This was the first time he was refining a grade 5 medicinal pill. Any change would determine the success or failure of the medicinal pill. Even if he failed, he would know which part of the process he had made a mistake in. This was the mentality and condition that an alchemist must possess. The medicinal herbs inside the cauldron melted in the blink of an eye. When the medicinal herbs melted, the second 500-year-old medicinal herb entered the cauldron. 500 years old medicinal herbs were the supplementary ingredients for a grade 5 pill. The supplementary ingredients were also a key to protecting the main ingredients. As time passed, Li Lingtian's divine consciousness remained locked in the cauldron as the herbs entered it one by one. 20 minutes passed, and the 21 medicinal herbs had turned into medicinal liquid. The last stalk of the 1,000-year snow jade flower had yet to be refined. Li Lingtian's expression was calm. With a wave of his hand, the 1,000-year snow jade flower entered the cauldron. Instantly, the inside of the pill cauldron was turned upside down. The 1,000-year-old snow jade flower stirred up waves in the pill cauldron. The originally calm medicinal liquid interacted well with each other. However, when the 1,000-year snow jade flower entered, all the medicinal liquid became unbalanced. Li Lingtian's expression changed slightly as if there was a chemical reaction before he sighed. Bang! As expected, a muffled sound erupted from the cauldron. All the refined medicinal liquid turned into charcoal. The cauldron's medicinal pill completely failed. Shoo! He put away the cauldron and cleared the pitch-black medicinal liquid inside. He sat cross-legged and began to recall the situation inside the cauldron. Failure was the mother of success. Now that he had failed, he had to find the reason for it. Half an hour later, Li Lingtian opened his eyes again. He cast a spell on the cauldron and the medicinal aura in the cauldron vanished completely. Then, he began to refine again. He warmed the cauldron and refined the medicine. He continued with his familiar techniques. Bang! There was another muffled sound. When the 1,000-year snow jade flower entered, it exploded again. Furthermore, Li Lingtian had slightly changed the order of the refinement this time, but it was of no use. First, refine the 1,000-year snow jade flower. Li Lingtian rested once again to absorb the experience of his failure. Finally, he came up with a solution, which was to refine the 1,000-year snow jade flower first. A solution might not necessarily succeed, but if there was no solution, it was destined to fail. Alchemy was originally a process of climbing out from countless failures. Otherwise, there would be more alchemists than martial artists in this world. Nurturing an alchemist was definitely not something that an ordinary clan could do, because alchemists were accumulated through the use of medicinal herbs. Using a vast amount of medicinal ingredients, he slowly grew up after countless failures as an alchemist. Warming the cauldron. Refining medicine. 1,000-year snow jade flower. After a series of practice techniques, the pill refinement began once again. The 1,000-year snow jade flower was finally refined. Li Lingtian carefully tossed a 500-year-old herb into the cauldron. This time, Li Lingtian was delighted. At least the other medicinal liquids in the 1,000-year snow jade flower did not explode after they entered. Following that, the 20 medicinal herbs entered the cauldron one after another. The 22 medicinal ingredients were all turned into liquid. At this moment, Li Lingtian waved his hands and the cauldron began to spin rapidly. The medicinal liquid continued to fuse and slowly solidified due to the temperature. Spirit Gathering Array, activate. Seeing that the medicinal liquid in the cauldron was almost frozen, Li Lingtian waved his hand and a spell shot out, landing directly on the spirit gathering array. The 3 spirit gathering arrays were activated, and a shocking amount of spirit chi surged in from all directions. The spiritual energy within a radius of 200 miles started to fluctuate and finally flew towards Maple Leaf Manor. At this moment, the martial artists cultivating in Maple Leaf Manor felt the fluctuation of spiritual energy and were extremely shocked. All of them watched as the spirit chi in the air that was almost tangible surged toward Li Lingtian's courtyard. Don't cultivate. Don't activate spiritual energy. At that moment, Yun Xiaoling saw the spirit chi in the air and naturally understood that Li Lingtian was refining a grade 5 pill. Moreover, it was at the final juncture. The last step of a 5th grade medicinal pill was spirit infusion, infusing spiritual energy into the medicinal pill. The denser the spiritual energy, the better the quality of the pill. However, there was a limit to the amount of spiritual energy. If there was too much spiritual energy, the pill would explode. None of the warriors dared to breathe too loudly, let alone use the slightest bit of spirit chi. If Li Lingtian's pill refinement failed because of spirit chi, he would definitely be scolded to death by the others. The forces and families in the distance also felt the fluctuation of spiritual energy. Could it be that Maple Leaf Manor's alchemist Ling Tian is refining pills? This spiritual energy fluctuation, could it be that he is refining a tier 5 medicinal pill? It should be a tier 5 pill. I was looking at the 1,000-year-old herbs I collected a few days ago. It must be a tier 5 pill. Some of the warriors who were closer to Maple Leaf Villa were astonished. They had also guessed that Li Lingtian was refining a tier 5 pill. Meanwhile, Li Lingtian was in the courtyard. His divine consciousness was locked onto the elixir cauldron as he observed the changes inside. The medicinal liquid in the pill cauldron gradually solidified, and a huge amount of spiritual energy surrounded the courtyard. It was at this moment that Li Lingtian's hands began to move. Finally, he cast a huge spell and an explosion appeared in the air. Boom! A shocking pillar of light shot into the sky, straight into the endless sky, Chapter 222, Chapter 222, Spirit Alchemist, 1. Chapter 222, Spirit Alchemist, 1. This beam of light did not have any power at all. It exploded into a halo in the air. At the same time, an endless stream of spirit chi rushed down from the sky and finally entered the courtyard. Li Lingtian guided it with one hand and concentrated spirit chi entered the crucible. The medicinal liquid continued to be nourished by the spiritual energy. The medicinal liquid that slowly solidified absorbed the spiritual energy. Immediately, the pill cauldron also rapidly absorbed the shocking spiritual energy. In the soliciting Moon Mountains, many warriors from the clans and sects saw the pillar of light. In the soliciting Moon Mountains, there were a few alchemists. When alchemists refined 5th grade pills, spirit infusion would occur. They also knew that this pillar of light was a spirit pill master refining a level 5 pill. However, what shocked them was that this pillar of light came from Maple Leaf Manor. Maple Leaf Manor was only a small 9th-rate family, but there was actually someone who refined a 5th grade medicinal pill. This was what shocked them. The light pillar lasted for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, the light pillar gradually disappeared. Li Lingtian's face was also filled with surprise because the spirit implantation had succeeded. Then, he waved his hand in the cauldron, and the solidified medicinal liquid was divided into more than 40 portions. Then, the more than 40 portions of medicinal liquid quickly formed into pills. Bang! With a crisp sound, a string of light and shadow burst out from the heaven and earth creation cauldron. The light and shadow were silver-white and gave people a mysterious feeling. After the light shadow appeared, it kept spinning in the air, and the remaining dense spiritual energy in the air was continuously absorbed. A moment later, Li Lingtian had a faint smile on his face. He took out a jade bottle and sucked the light shadow into it. I've finally refined the 5th grade soul restoring pill. Li Lingtian kept the pills and poured one out of the jade bottle. He carefully examined the pill in his hand. It was the size of a finger, and the entire pill was silver-white in color, emitting a faint halo. This time, he refined a total of 47 pills. 47 soul-restoring pills. There was also a refreshing aura on the medicinal pill, giving people a comfortable feeling. Creak. With a soft sound, the wooden door opened and Li Lingtian appeared outside the courtyard. Hundreds of warriors were watching from the outside with envy and excitement on their faces. Tier 5 pill successfully refined. Li Lingtian said calmly. After he finished speaking, countless warriors cheered. A Tier 5 elixir was a spirit alchemist. In the past, they only knew that Li Lingtian had refined a Tier 4 advanced pill. They could not be sure that Li Lingtian was a spirit alchemist. Now that Li Lingtian had refined a Tier 5 pill in front of them, his identity as an alchemist could no longer be faked. With an alchemist in Maple Leaf Villa, the 10 great clans and 4 great sects would not dare to offend him. Yun Yaoyao and Yun Xiaoling were even more excited because they finally understood what it meant to successfully refine a 5th grade pill. It meant that Li Lingtian was a spirit alchemist, and more importantly, Yun Yaoyao had the chance to remove the 9 absolute meridians. Congratulations, Sir Lingtian. Congratulations, junior brother Li. Congratulations, junior brother Li. Yun Xiaoling bowed at Li Lingtian. Although Li Lingtian was a disciple of Maple Leaf Manor, he was many times stronger than Yun Xiaoling in every aspect. In the past, Li Lingtian did not care about such formalities. However, as Li Lingtian was now an alchemist, Yun Xiaoling would not be rude no matter how rude he was. Following that, Yun Yaoyao greeted Li Lingtian with a bow of congratulations. The other warrior disciples also congratulated Li Lingtian. In the end, Yun Xiaoling ordered all the disciples to retreat. He then looked at Li Lingtian and instructed the disciples below to prepare a celebratory feast. Seeing that Li Lingtian did not object, he instructed the disciples to invite all the factions and sects in the Soliciting Moon Mountains. All the disciples were extremely excited. Finally, Maple Leaf Manor could show off in the Soliciting Moon Mountains. All these years, they had been suppressed by the various families. Now that they had a spirit alchemist, they naturally had to show off. Li Lingtian did not object at all. Since he had become a spirit alchemist, it was time to celebrate. Moreover, Maple Leaf Manor could use this celebration to collect some wealth. The group entered the living room where they sat down casually. Due to Li Lingtian's special status, seating was a matter of particular importance. It would not be rude to sit down casually. The living room was damaged last time, but a new living room was built in less than 2 days. In the living room were a few warrior kings, Yun Yaoyao, Yun Bing, and Xingling. They were Li Lingtian's friends and were the closest to him, so they were allowed to be more casual. Congratulations to Sir Lingtian for refining a grade 5 medicinal pill. After they sat down, Yun Xiaoling congratulated them once again with a smile on his face. The rest of the people congratulated him once again. Furthermore, they understood why Li Lingtian did not object to the celebration. Pill refiners liked peace and quiet, not fame and fortune. Holding a celebration now was also for the Maple Leaf Manor to plunder wealth. The Maple Leaf Manor was really too poor. This is a level 5 soul recovery pill. In a few days, Yao Yao will follow me to cultivate another cultivation technique. That way, I can control the 9 terminal meridians in her body. Li Lingtian tossed a pill in his hand toward Yun Tianling. The pill streaked across the air and left behind a fresh medicinal fragrance. Yun Xiaoling and Yun Yaoyao were overjoyed. In a few days, they would be able to remove the 9 absolute meridians. His heart also became much more relaxed. He carefully examined the silver pill in his hand. The mysterious halo on it was fascinating. Tier 5 high-grade soul recovery pill. Could it be a divine restoration pill that can restore a warrior's cultivation base? Xiaoling did not pay much attention to Li Lingtian's words. However, when he saw the pill, he was immediately shocked when he recalled that Li Lingtian had mentioned the spirit-restoring pill. These were all legendary magical medicinal pills. He had naturally heard of them in legends, but he had never seen them in person. That's right. It's a Tier 5 soul-restoring pill. One got this pill formula from a disciple of Maple Leaf Manor. I'll give this spirit stone to him when the time comes. Li Lingtian took out some spiritual stones. There was a total of 200,000 lower spiritual stones. He did not want to take advantage of his disciples. Since he had already refined the soul-restoring pill, he naturally couldn't lose out to his own disciples. If it was an outsider, he wouldn't care at all. Moreover, he was about to recover his cultivation now, so he did not have to worry about anything else. This is Sir Ling Tian's luck. Only when this pill formula falls into Sir Ling Tian's hands can it display its value. A martial king smiled and said seriously. However, he did not hold back and took the 200,000 low-grade spiritual stones. They knew Li Lingtian's personality well and naturally would not stand on ceremony in front of him. After that, the few of them discussed the matter of the celebration. Xiaoling would be the host. At that time, they only needed to show up. After the discussion, Li Lingtian returned to his courtyard. He was trying to stabilize his current cultivation so that he could withstand the might of the restoring god pill. Yun Yaoyao followed Li Lingtian and moved into his courtyard. Li Lingtian imparted an ice attribute cultivation technique to Yun Yaoyao so that he could fully control her body. There was another problem. Yun Yaoyao's 9 yin absolute meridians were also helpful to him. This was because the 9 yin absolute meridians were of the extreme yin type, and they were born with the attribute of ice. It was a great help to his ice soul martial soul. Yaoyao, cultivate this technique. You don't need to cultivate the previous techniques. After you remove the constitution of the 9 yin absolute meridians, you can also cultivate this cultivation method. At that time, you can quickly increase your cultivation. Li Lingtian replied earnestly. After giving some instructions, he returned to his room to rest. Pill refinement was a very tiring job, and it was even more so for a grade 5 pill. It required the alchemist to devote all his heart and soul into it. Li Lingtian was sound asleep in his room. He did not need to care about the things happening outside. Outside, the countless families and factions in the Soliciting Moon Mountains were all shocked. Another alchemist had appeared in the Soliciting Moon Mountains. This was also the 6th alchemist in the Soliciting Moon Mountains. The appearance of an alchemist meant that the cultivators of the Soliciting Moon Mountains would be able to obtain more pills for their cultivation. Moreover, those small forces were even more expectant because Maple Leaf Manor was also a small force. There were only spirit alchemists in the big forces. Naturally, the pills were also controlled by spirit alchemists and big families. The price of pills was very high, and high-grade pills were rarely circulated. Controlling pills meant controlling resources. This was the core wealth of a family and sect. I heard that a spirit alchemist has appeared in Maple Leaf Manor. Is that true? Of course it's true. We saw the spirit infusion of a grade 5 pill with our own eyes that day. At that time, a shocking amount of spiritual energy rushed into the sky, and colorful clouds floated in the sky. A spirit pill master has appeared in Maple Leaf Manor. It won't be long before Maple Leaf Manor becomes a big force. I heard that the Maple Leaf Manor's celebration is in 3 days. I wonder who has been invited. Countless cultivators of the Soliciting Moon Mountain Range were discussing among themselves. Not many people had seen the appearance of a spirit alchemist in Maple Leaf Manor. Because the Soliciting Moon Mountains was too big, the spiritual energy of the spirit infusion could not be seen within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. However, the news had spread throughout the Soliciting Moon Mountains, and it had shaken them. 3 days was a long period of time for ordinary martial artists, but for high-level martial artists, it was just a blink of an eye. One meditation and cultivation would take a few days. However, in the past few days, countless martial artists in the Soliciting Moon Mountains did not cultivate because many martial artists had been invited. However, the invited warriors were all famous figures in the Soliciting Moon Mountain range. It was either the head of a family or the sect leader of a sect. Even if it was a small force, there would be a person in charge who was invited. The 10 great families and the 4 great sects were no exception. Every force received an invitation. Whether they came or not was the other party's business, but the invitation card had to be handed over to every force. The status of an alchemist was not lower than a martial royal realm expert. In fact, the status of an alchemist was even higher than a martial royal realm expert. Even a martial supreme would not easily offend an alchemist. This was because the pills they used to increase their cultivation had to be refined by spirit alchemists. Chapter 223, Chapter 223, Celebration, 1. Chapter 223, Celebration, 1. In just 3 days, Maple Leaf Manor had settled the matters of the celebration. The entire Maple Leaf Manor was decorated with lanterns and streamers. All the disciples had proud expressions on their faces. In the past, they had to look at the other forces. Now, it was finally the time for Maple Leaf Manor to hold their heads high. The manor had built a simple square within a radius of 10 miles to receive the martial artists who came. On the day of the celebration, all the disciples began to get busy, welcoming the martial artists who came or busy drinking. Although these martial artists did not necessarily have to drink here, the villa had to do everything. On that day, countless martial kings, martial grandmasters, and even martial emperors came. Countless martial kings and martial grandmasters, as well as more than a dozen martial emperors, made countless manor disciples extremely excited. It was very difficult to see a martial arts grandmaster in the manor. A martial emperor was not something that could be dreamed of in a place like Maple Leaf Manor. However, on this day, many martial arts grandmasters and martial emperors came to Maple Leaf Manor. The 10 great families and 4 great sects sent martial emperor-level elders to congratulate them. There were countless treasures, precious medicinal herbs, rare materials, and even top-grade spirit stones. 2 hours passed. The entire square was filled with martial kings, martial arts grandmasters, and martial emperors. After these experts met, they naturally greeted each other and tried to build a relationship. He roughly estimated that there were at least 8,000 martial artists who came here. Such a lineup, even the birthday of the 10 great clans, patriarchs, would not have such a grand display. Everyone, welcome to the Maple Leaf Manor. You have brought light to the humble Maple Leaf Manor. On a temporary high platform in the middle of the square, Xiaoling said loudly. His expression was calm, but his heart was thumping non-stop. As a martial king, he had never seen such a big scene before. There were martial kings, martial grandmasters, and martial emperors here. Moreover, these experts had all been invited. Although it was not for the sake of Maple Leaf Villa, Li Lingtian's presence at Maple Leaf Villa represented Maple Leaf Villa. Today is Lord Ling Tian's celebration, the celebration of becoming a spirit pill master. Please welcome Lord Ling Tian. Xiaoling suppressed his heartbeat and greeted Li Lingtian briefly before pushing him forward. Li Lingtian was in the courtyard, but his divine consciousness had locked onto the entire plaza. These warriors were powerful. He did not expect that the Soliciting Moon Mountains alone would have so many powerful powerhouses. These experts were only a part of the Soliciting Moon Mountain range, but even this part was equivalent to the experts of the Azure continent. If the entire Soliciting Moon Mountain range were to come here, even all the experts in Green Island would not be able to compare to this place. Seeing Xiaoling's reaction, he felt a little amused. It was indeed difficult for a martial king to face so many experts. Then, he walked out unhurriedly and arrived at the steps under everyone's gaze. I'm Li Lingtian. Welcome, everyone. It's truly my honor. I don't know how to speak. Everyone, just do whatever you want. Li Lingtian smiled and said a few simple words as a greeting to the powerhouses. However, in the square, countless warriors were stunned. This young man without any cultivation, could he be an alchemist? Even if Li Lingtian had told them, they would not have believed it. This young man did not hide his appearance because of his cultivation level. He was only 17 or 18 years old. As long as one paid close attention to a martial artist's true age, one would be able to tell. This young man was not even 18 years old. If this young man was really an alchemist, then it was not too heaven-defying. A 17 or 18-year-old alchemist with such powerful alchemy skills, his future was boundless. Congratulations to Sir Ling Tian for becoming a spirit pill master. Although they didn't dare to believe it, they didn't dare to be rude. If this young man was a real spirit pill master, they would be offending him if they suspected him. They naturally wouldn't do such a stupid thing. This is the Tier 5 soul restoring pill that one refined. One believe that everyone has heard of the soul restoring pill. Everyone, take a look at this pill. Li Lingtian's smile remained on his face. He could naturally tell that these warriors were suspicious of his identity. He used his soul consciousness and took out a jade bottle. A pill flew into the air and landed in front of a martial emperor. Zhou Ping took the pill and sniffed it. His spirit was immediately roused. His eyes carefully sized up the pill. They had seen a lot of Tier 5 pills, but they had never seen the legendary soul restoring pill. The soul restoring pill was definitely the most precious existence among the 5th grade medicinal pills. Its effects were heaven-defying. This young man actually said that he was refining a soul-restoring pill. Naturally, he was excited and shocked. All the martial artists put down the wine cups in their hands and looked at Zhou Ping, wondering how the medicinal pill was. Tier 5 high-grade medicinal pill, the soul-restoring pill. That's right. A genuine Tier 5 high-rank soul-restoring pill. Zhou Ping looked at it for a while, and the expression on his face kept changing. He didn't believe it at first, but after careful inspection, he had no choice but to believe it. He then waved his hand and shot a pill at a martial emperor from the Chen family. It was not up to one person to decide. These people would naturally be curious. It was not bad for everyone to taste it. He was the only one who was surprised. It really is a soul-restoring pill. A Tier 5 soul-restoring pill of high quality. Ling Tian's spirit alchemist is truly a genius. To be able to concoct a Tier 5 soul-restoring pill of high quality at such a young age, it's truly the fortune of our soliciting Moon Mountain Range. 11. The Qin clan's martial emperor, Qin Haomin, was also carefully examining the pills. He had another identity, and that was a spirit alchemist. He was one of the 5 great alchemists of the soliciting Moon Mountain Range, and he was also the one with the most profound cultivation among the alchemists. Since he had spoken, no one doubted him. The other 4 alchemists began to examine the pill. The aura on the pill was identical to Li Lingtian's. In other words, the pill was refined by Li Lingtian. A 17 or 18-year-old youth concocting a 5th grade high-grade soul-restoring pill, no one wasn't shocked. Even the 5 alchemists present were filled with admiration. They knew how powerful alchemy was. It was difficult to improve the quality of a pill even in their lifetime. Seeing the 5 spirit alchemists being so polite to Li Lingtian, all the powerhouses were shocked. They were even more respectful toward Li Lingtian. Haha, now that we have Sir Ling Tian, we can have more exchanges on alchemy techniques and bring the alchemy Dao to greater heights. Falling Star Spirit Alchemist said loudly. Such a genius pill refiner had a boundless future. If he could make more friends now, it might be helpful to his pill Dao in the future. That's right. Our soliciting Moon Mountain Range has always been looked down upon by the other forces. However, we have 5 spirit alchemists here, so we're able to hold our ground. Now that we have Sir Ling Tian, we're even more stable. Your Excellency Ling Tian's alchemy Dao is also something I admire greatly. I hope that Your Excellency Ling Tian can give me more pointers in the future. The only alchemist who wasn't from a clan or sect, Alchemist Nanming, also said loudly. His tone was actually much lower. It was not hard to understand. The other alchemists had their own clans and sects, but he did not. Li Lingtian was only an alchemist from a small faction, so he naturally had to stand aside. In an instant, countless powerhouses and alchemists greeted Li Lingtian with their congratulations. The scene was extremely lively. Li Lingtian greeted the powerhouses for a while before he left the plaza and returned to his courtyard. He usually didn't like such a scene. What he liked was to cultivate quietly with beautiful women by his side. This was the life he really wanted. Naturally, Yun Yaoyao didn't go to that scene. Instead, she cultivated in the courtyard. Junior brother, you're back. Why don't you like that place? She asked curiously when she saw Li Lingtian return. One don't like places that are too crowded. Besides, there are other sceneries here. I prefer other sceneries, hee. After Li Lingtian finished speaking, he chuckled. Yun Yaoyao was stunned for a moment before she understood what he meant and blushed. Junior brother Li is getting more and more glib. Yun Yaoyao turned her head and whispered as she pretended to ignore Li Lingtian. However, she was curious when she realized that Li Lingtian was not speaking. She turned around and realized that Li Lingtian had been cultivating since a long time ago. She was so angry that she stomped her feet. Then, she sat in the courtyard and rested her chin on her hand. No one knew what she was thinking about. Her face turned red with a wave of her hand, and then she smiled. Li Lingtian was still focused on his cultivation as he would be recovering his cultivation base in a few days. His life would not be so peaceful after he recovered his cultivation base. He had always been like this, and there was always a lot of trouble. The celebration lasted for 5 hours before the powerhouses dispersed. Some powerhouses even left invitations for Li Lingtian to visit their clans and sections. It was even more so for the few spirit alchemists. At this level, spirit alchemists had very few people to communicate with. They communicated with each other every day and understood each other very well. If there was a new spirit alchemist, perhaps he would have a different understanding of alchemy, and it would be of great help to the improvement of alchemy. Yun Xiaoling had gradually gotten used to these things. His heart was already numb. In front of these experts, he was no longer so flustered. He thought to himself that under such circumstances, even a timid person would become bolder. After all the experts had left, Yun Xiaoling ordered his disciples to clean up the square. However, he returned to his room and saw the countless wealth and medicinal herbs in the room. His face was filled with excitement. When had he ever seen so much wealth? This wealth was not something that a maple leaf manor could possess. Just this wealth alone could build a large faction. However, despite his excitement, he did not forget that the wealth belonged to Li Lingtian. It was a gift from the powerhouses. With Maple Leaf Villa, even if they invited the powerhouses, they would not come to Maple Leaf Villa, let alone give him gifts. Chapter 224, Chapter 224, 9 Yin Terminal Meridians. Chapter 224, 9 Yin Terminal Meridians. Looking at the wealth, the smile on Yun Xiaoling's face changed. He had no intention of touching this wealth. Instead, they gathered all the wealth and sent it to Li Lingtian's courtyard. However, Li Lingtian's divine perception swept through the storage pouch and left behind all the herbs and 5 supreme-grade spirit stones. The other items and wealth were left to Yun Xiaoling to handle. He did not care about these wealth at all. Moreover, these experts were all old foxes. Naturally, they would not take out any treasures. At most, they would only take out some 10,000-year-old medicinal herbs. He naturally had to keep the medicinal herbs. As an alchemist, he could not give up the medicinal herbs to others. Other than taking the medicinal herbs and a few top-grade spirit stones, he did not look at anything else. 1 foot 11 inches sell this wealth into spirit stones. 1 foot 11 inches take care of the Maple Leaf Manor and change the cultivation resources for the disciples. Li Lingtian said seriously. He was in Maple Leaf Villa and naturally would not see it as shabby. As the saying goes, once a person attains the Tao, chickens and dogs will ascend to heaven. He was already a spirit pill master now. If the disciples below were still so shabby, it would inevitably be a little ugly. Thank you, Sir Ling Tian. Yun Xiaoling didn't say much. He had taken out so much wealth so easily, so what was there to be grateful about? He could only express his gratitude to Li Lingtian on behalf of the Maple Leaf Villa disciples. Li Lingtian's days were not peaceful anymore. From time to time, there would be a visit from a super powerhouse or a spirit alchemist. He could only meditate and cultivate at night, practicing his skills and comprehending his cultivation techniques. Now that he had reached the peak of a rank 1 martial king, he was relieved. As long as he found an opportunity, he could use the soul restoration pill to recover his martial arts grandmaster realm. As the days passed, Maple Leaf Manor grew stronger and stronger. Although it was not on the same level as the major clans and factions, with Li Lingtian as an alchemist, its status was on par with the 10 great clans. The disciples below had spiritual stones to cultivate. They would usually seek Li Lingtian's help to refine the medicinal herbs they needed. This way, their cultivation progress was extremely fast. On this day, Li Lingtian had sorted out his emotions. It was time for him to recover his state. Moreover, today was also the day Yun Yaoyao removed her 9 absolute meridians. Countless magical formations were enshrouded in Maple Leaf Villa. Li Lingtian's courtyard was even protected by more than a dozen formations. Even if a martial honor came, they would be able to withstand it. As a holy array master, he would never insult this reputation. Although he had not reached the realm of a holy array master, the divine array diagram could improve his array Dao countless times. Many warriors were shocked and they saw the defensive array of Maple Leaf Manor. Generally speaking, only super sects and big families had defensive arrays. Moreover, Jingying's consumption of a defensive array was not something that a small family could afford. He did not expect Maple Leaf Manor to have a defensive array. Moreover, this defensive array had appeared overnight. Such speed was something that only those super array masters could achieve, or use array flags. The disciples of the Maple Leaf Manor were also in the array. No one went out. Li Lingtian's courtyard was crowded with warriors. Yun Yaoyao walked into the courtyard with a look of excitement and worry. He used to cultivate and play here every day, but today, he felt a sense of heaviness and hope. The higher the hope, the greater the disappointment. However, she quickly regained her composure because she believed in Li Lingtian. Even if he failed, it would just be an experiment. When she arrived at the courtyard, she realized that Li Lingtian was not there. All the arrays were shut down the moment she entered. Come in. Li Lingtian's voice rang out in the room. Yun Yaoyao was stunned when she heard his voice. Could it be? Although they were close, she had never entered Li Lingtian's room before. Now that Li Lingtian had called her in, she could not help but blush. Then, he hesitated for a moment and carefully walked towards the room. Just as he reached the door, the wooden door swung open. Li Lingtian looked at Yun Yaoyao with a smile. Is Yaoyao sis afraid that I'll eat you? Li Lingtian looked at Yun Yaoyao with a harmless smile. Yun Yaoyao's face turned even redder. It turned out that her junior brother had already seen her movements. However, after Li Lingtian said that, she was no longer worried and relaxed. I'm not afraid. When Yun Yaoyao saw Li Lingtian's face, she puffed out her chest and raised her fist as if she was showing off. She was extremely adorable and her voluptuous chest made Li Lingtian's heart skip a beat. Were all the beauties in this world so domineering? Tang Zimeng was like this, and now Yun Yaoyao was like this. He wasn't very close to Nangong Mingyue, but he had found that the eldest princess was also full and powerful. Although he hadn't come into contact with Tang Qingyue and Shengguan Linger much, he had come into contact with them before. Naturally, he realized that they were both very strong. Thinking of this, he really felt a wave of sadness for those women in his previous life. 99% of them were stunted. Alright, you should cultivate for a day first to stabilize the ice attribute secret. Art 1 taught you so that one can grasp the extent of your cultivation. After tomorrow, your 9 absolute meridians will be ready. Li Lingtian changed the topic and revealed a serious expression. He was only so focused when he was refining pills. Am I going to cultivate here? Yun Yao Yao looked at Li Lingtian's room and pointed at it. She asked softly with a restrained expression on her face. Of course, I have to grasp the movement of your meridians. Otherwise, not only will one not be able to remove the 9 absolute meridians, but your 9 absolute meridians will also become even more severe. I will also suffer a backlash. Li Lingtian sat cross-legged on the bed after he finished speaking and began meditating. Yun Yao Yao was stunned. Li Lingtian's words made her feel a sense of danger. She was in danger. Although Li Lingtian did not explain it clearly, she knew that she would not have much time left. On the other hand, she was worried about Li Lingtian. She did not care if she was dead or alive because her 9 absolute meridians only had 2 years to live. However, Li Lingtian was a prodigy powerhouse. If she implicated him, she would not feel at ease even if she died. Yao Yao will definitely persevere. She won't let junior brother be implicated. She secretly encouraged herself, but her heart ached. It seemed that her junior brother said it easily, but she knew how much risk her junior brother had to take. Yun Yao Yao looked around the room. There was no other place for her to meditate, so she could only sit beside Li Lingtian. She felt a burst of shyness and warmth in her heart. She was 18 years old this year and had never interacted with a man. Now, she was alone in the same room with a man and was even sitting on the same bed. This kind of shyness was very much liked because the man beside him was his junior brother, an omnipotent expert who was willing to take risks for him. In the divine martial continent, kinship could not be compared to cultivation. Warriors often betrayed their loved ones for cultivation and strength. It was impossible for him to take the risk to save someone. However, this junior brother of his had only known each other for a few months, and they were like friends who had known each other since childhood. Focus on your cultivation and don't be distracted. If anything happens, the two of us will have to wait for our next life. Yao Yao, are you thinking of marrying me after your 9 meridians recover? Hee hee. With Li Lingtian's cultivation base, he could naturally sense the uneasiness in Yun Yao Yao's heart. Hence, he spoke before he chuckled. Sitting with such a beauty was indeed a form of torture and enjoyment. Humph, you wish. However, one can consider it. Yun Yao Yao was taken aback as her face flushed red. She did not expect Li Lingtian to say something like that. Although she could tell that Li Lingtian was joking, her heart was still trembling. Her instinctive restraint made her blush, but in the end, she spoke in a soft voice so that only she could hear it. However, in her shyness, she clearly heard her junior brother sigh beside her. That sigh was a kind of longing and longing, a longing and longing that came from the depths of her heart. Yun Yao Yao turned to look at her junior brother but could only see Li Lingtian's calm expression. He had already entered the state of emptiness. In his heart, he constantly imagined whether his junior brother was missing his parents, his relatives, his fellow sect members, or the person he liked. What was the person he liked like? The girl that he liked must be a peerless beauty that shocked the world. After letting his imagination run wild for a long time, Li Lingtian calmed himself down. He continued to cultivate to stabilize his realm so that he could remove Yun Yao Yao's 9 terminated meridians. The 9 absolute meridians that others could not remove were nothing in front of him. He was a martial artist with the flaming sacred body, ice soul martial soul, and the 5 elements perfection. The 9 absolute meridians were nothing compared to these heaven-defying existences. However, he did not know that the 9 absolute meridians could not do anything to martial kings, martial grandmasters, or even martial emperors. However, martial honors could remove them. With the help of pills, even a level 8 or level 9 martial emperor could remove the 9 terminated meridians. There were many level 8 or level 9 martial emperors in the soliciting Moon Mountains, so why hadn't Yun Yaoyao's 9 terminated meridians been removed? Now, he could not understand these things, nor could he find the truth. At this point, he could only help Yun Yaoyao remove her 9 terminal meridians. If he missed this opportunity, Yun Yaoyao's life would be very short. He had to take risks for what he needed and to repay his kindness. Time passed quickly. The next day, Li Lingtian opened his eyes and looked at Yun Yaoyao with a smile. On this day, he had also grasped the rhythm of Yun Yaoyao's meridians. Yao Yao, let's start. Li Lingtian said softly with a serious and focused expression. Junior brother, senior sister is a little worried. If there's any danger, you have to give up immediately. Don't worry about me. Yun Yaoyao did not have much time to cultivate. She spent most of her time thinking about other things. Before she woke up, she had already decided that it did not matter if she lived or died. She must not implicate Li Lingtian. Chapter 225, Chapter 225, Ancient Seal. Chapter 225, Ancient Seal. Yao Yao doesn't believe me. Li Lingtian was taken aback but his heart warmed up. Yun Yaoyao was still considerate of others at a time like this. It was not a waste for him to take action. Such a girl could not be found anywhere in the divine martial continent where the strong were respected. Not to mention this world, even in his previous life, it was still a dream. Because the cruelty of the world had already made everyone lose their nature. Survival of the fittest was already deeply rooted. With a smile on his face, he asked calmly as he looked at Yun Yaoyao seriously. This was the first time Li Lingtian had looked at this girl so seriously since they met a few months ago. Her exquisite face, lively eyes, and fair skin were enough to make people feel ecstasy. Dressed in a light pink shirt, she looked like a fairy who didn't eat fireworks. Her chest was full and powerful. No, I naturally believe in your ability. I'm just saying what if. If senior sister's 9 absolute meridians recover, then she will marry junior brother. Yun Yaoyao said seriously. Her voice was as soft as a mosquito's when she reached the end of her sentence. If it were not for Li Lingtian's profound cultivation base, he would not have heard her whisper. By the time Yun Yaoyao finished speaking, her face was already flushed red. She wished she could find a hole to hide in. Don't think too much. Yao Yao sis, I need your cooperation to help you touch the 9 absolute meridians. There was a smile on Li Lingtian's face that gave off an evil vibe. Fortunately, Yun Yaoyao did not look at his face, or she would have mistaken him for a pervert. Of course. Yun Yaoyao agreed without hesitation. She finally had hope for her 9 terminal meridians, so she naturally had to cooperate with others. Let's begin. Senior sister, you have to take off your clothes. No matter how thick-skinned Li Lingtian was, he still felt awkward. Asking a peerless beauty to take off her clothes in front of him was a joke. What? Junior brother, you're a bad guy. Don't make fun of senior sister. Yun Yaoyao's heart skipped a beat. She was so embarrassed that she could not hide her shame. She did not reject Li Lingtian, but she was grateful to him. She could even marry this junior brother in front of her. However, she had never thought of taking off her clothes in front of him at this time. Even if she married him, she would be too embarrassed to take off her clothes in front of him. However, she believed in her junior brother's character. He must be joking to make her happy. Senior sister, this little brother is being presumptuous. Because to remove your 9 absolute meridians, you have to relax completely and let me control your meridians. If we're not careful, we'll be safe. Do you think I'm a bad person? Li Lingtian replied in a serious tone as the smile on his face vanished. With a wave of his hand, a formation enveloped the entire room. He activated his divine dragon ring and took out a thin veil. The veil separated the room while he retreated to the side. Xiao Bai, you stand guard outside. Bai Qing, Fei Long, and Multicolor, the three of you stand guard outside the courtyard. Kill any outsiders who enter. Li Lingtian said seriously after he was done with everything. He had a bad feeling that he had never felt before. However, he knew that something was about to happen. He just didn't know. At this critical moment, such a sign was definitely not a good thing. At this point, there was no turning back. What was meant to come would come. He had to return to the martial ancestor realm, and Yun Yaoyao had to remove her 9 terminated meridians. He could hide for a while, but he couldn't hide forever. Little White nodded. It was telepathically connected to Li Lingtian, so it could sense what Li Lingtian sensed. Then, he left the room and squatted outside the room. Although it was just a small rabbit now, even a martial emperor might not be its match if it wanted to fight. The multicolored beast, the silver-winged flying dragon, and the jade-eyed beast could also reduce their bodies to the smallest size, only 1 meter in size. Yun Yaoyao was stunned by Li Lingtian's actions. Waves surged in his heart. Was this his junior brother's method? However, a few demon beasts without cultivation were not powerful. However, when she thought about it, it was this rabbit who had defeated a martial arts grandmaster with just a wave of pressure. Although she did not see it with her own eyes, she naturally believed what her father said. Junior brother. Turn around. Yun Yaoyao's heart was still trembling. She still couldn't get over the thought of taking off her clothes in front of a man. A girl's chastity was always more important than anything else. However, when she saw the seriousness on Li Lingtian's face and his personality, she could only hold back her embarrassment. She glared fiercely at Li Lingtian as she spoke in a sweet voice. Li Lingtian chuckled inwardly. Isn't this just a cover-up? I'll have to see it when the time comes. However, he did not know that taking off his clothes in front of him was completely different from seeing it in the future. Turning around, he heard a rustling sound and the sound of a heartbeat. After a long time, Li Lingtian slowly turned around. Instantly, he almost spat out blood and was completely stunned. Her white body was as smooth as jade, her shoulders were thin, and her hair was like a waterfall. She had long, snow-white legs. He could be considered a top student, but when he saw this perfect beauty, he couldn't describe it. He could only say that she was extremely perfect. Although she was still wearing a tube top and a pair of pants, and her back was facing him, even so, it still made his blood boil. Now, he was somewhat regretful. Facing this peerless beauty like this, was he still in the mood to use his cultivation technique? His blood vessels surged, and his entire body was about to burn. When he saw Yun Yaoyao, he sighed in his heart. There were no beauties in the 21st century. His heart was beating fast, and so was Yun Yaoyao's. After an unknown period of time, Li Lingtian finally realized what was going on. His heart was pounding through the thin veil. This veil was completely transparent, so it was useless even if it was separated from him. On the contrary, it gave people a hazy and beautiful temptation. Junior brother. Yun Yaoyao carefully turned around and crossed her snow-white hands. Her face was flushed red. After touching the clothes, the fullness of her chest became even more prominent. A tube top could not completely cover that snow-white peak. This time, Li Lingtian almost died. Hush. Perfect. Li Lingtian exhaled and said 2 words softly before he fell silent. Even if they were with Tang Zimeng, they would only hold hands and be intimate with each other. They had never seen such a scene. Yun Yaoyao felt extremely sweet when she heard Li Lingtian's praise. She knew that she was beautiful, but she felt even sweeter when she was praised. Furthermore, it was Li Lingtian who praised her. Li Lingtian then sat cross-legged and circulated his ice soul martial soul to calm his mind. Yun Yaoyao sat cross-legged facing Li Lingtian, but she dared not look at him. The small hand in front of her chest was still not put down. How could a small hand cover it? It's starting. Don't be distracted. After a few minutes, Li Lingtian finally calmed down. This was torture that he had never experienced before. If he didn't calm down, he and Yun Yaoyao would suffer a backlash. It wasn't hard to imagine what would happen to them. However, facing such a peerless beauty, he could only complain bitterly. He wanted to say that the most painful time in the world was now. Yes. Yun Yaoyao nodded softly and opened her eyes. She slowly released her hand and circulated her magic art, quickly circulating the ice attribute cultivation art. However, it took Li Lingtian half an hour to make his move. It was only during this time that Yun Yaoyao slowly regained her composure. Swoosh, swoosh. The two spells were cast, and a faint golden light shone on Yun Yaoyao's body. Heaven and Earth Reincarnation, 5 Elements Cycle. Heaven and Earth Holy Scripture, Heaven and Earth Reincarnation Art, hurry. Li Lingtian's expression was serious and focused as he chanted the incantation continuously. His entire body was emitting a mysterious radiance. The power of the 5 elements wrapped around his entire body. Moreover, this power continued to fuse, forming a 5-colored light. Yun Yaoyao was shocked. This aura contained all 5 elements. Could it be that the 5 elements had been perfected? She didn't dare to imagine it. This was too terrifying because it was a legend from hundreds of millions of years ago. The strongest expert in the world had the attributes of the 5 elements at the peak. This junior brother in front of him was actually also at the peak of the 5 elements. Relax and keep your spirit. Li Lingtian's cold shout woke Yun Yaoyao up. Then, a 5-colored ray of light entered Yu Yaoyao's glabella. Yun Yaoyao's body trembled violently, and a pained expression appeared on her face. But slowly, the 5-colored light wrapped around Yun Yaoyao, and the pain on her face lessened significantly. Li Lingtian's power of 5 elements quickly entered Yun Yaoyao's meridians. Yun Yaoyao's meridians and body were completely under Li Lingtian's control. Yun Yaoyao had no choice but to focus on her spirit and protect her sea of consciousness. Li Lingtian was in control of all her meridians. Finally, Li Lingtian's power of 5 elements and divine consciousness arrived at a cold and gloomy place. Yun Yaoyao's Dantian was also the location of her 9 yin terminal meridians. A cold aura continued to corrode Yun Yaoyao's body. If this continued, Yun Yaoyao would die in less than 2 years. There's a restriction. Li Lingtian nodded when he saw the cold yin qi in his Dantian. However, he was surprised to find that the cold yin qi was sealed. He was an array master, and a powerful one at that. Naturally, he could sense the existence of this restriction. He felt more and more troubled. The 9 yin absolute meridian was already very dangerous when it was removed, and now there was a seal inside. To remove this seal, it would not be a matter of time. More importantly, this seal was an ancient seal. Ancient seal? Could it be? Li Lingtian's heart trembled at the thought of this and his expression changed drastically. The ancient seal that appeared in Yun Yaoyao's body must have been sealed by an ancient mighty figure. In other words, it must have been sealed in her past life or even countless reincarnations. Yun Yaoyao had been sealed in her previous life, so this matter was even more troublesome. Chapter 226, Chapter 226, Recovering Cultivation. Chapter 226, Recovering Cultivation. He didn't expect that a 9 yin absolute meridian would have so many troubles. Since we've met, I don't care what seal you have. Break it for me. I'm not going to let you go. Li Lingtian said in his heart. A force was circulating in Yun Yaoyao's body and a surge of true qi was protecting the yin qi to prevent any accidents from happening. Then, he withdrew his divine sense and waved his hand. The divine array diagram in the courtyard appeared in front of him. He cast a spell on the divine array diagram and it instantly disappeared. When it reappeared, it was already in Yun Yaoyao's dantian. Li Lingtian's divine consciousness entered his dantian once again. As he looked at the seal of the cold yin qi, Li Lingtian activated the divine array diagram with his divine consciousness and rays of obscure light flashed. After an unknown period of time, the light became more and more intense, covering the entire dantian. After everything was done, Li Lingtian felt as if he had just been scooped out of the tax. His entire body was drenched. This array formation had to protect Yun Yaoyao's dantian from being affected and break the seal on the cold air. Li Lingtian's heart was filled with killing intent at the thought of the seal. It was a vicious seal that was sealed in his dantian. If the seal was removed, his dantian would be destroyed. The 9 yin absolute meridians constitution that destroyed the dantian would disappear when the owner died. The person who used the seal had also achieved his goal. He was torturing the person with the 9 yin terminal meridians, and he was also using this seal to torture Yun Yaoyao. She had to die at the age of 20. If she touched the seal, Yun Yaoyao would disappear forever. Yun Yaoyao held her spirit and body in Li Lingtian's hands. The circulation of her meridians was under Li Lingtian's control. However, her divine consciousness could see Li Lingtian's movements and the seal in her dantian. As long as she was not a fool, she would understand Li Lingtian's intentions for everything he had done. Her heart was beyond gratitude. Senior sister, this time, it will depend on our luck. Death is also between you and me. Li Lingtian's face was filled with determination as he spoke in a soft voice. His divine consciousness flickered in Yun Yaoyao's dantian as he cast a series of magic arts on the outside. The magic arts then entered her dantian through her meridians. In his dantian, the spell directly bombarded the ancient seal. A destructive explosion rang out in her body. However, it was soundless because it was inside Yun Yaoyao's dantian. At the instant of the explosion, the divine array diagram flashed with a dazzling light that protected his dantian. The seal was lifted, and a shocking cold aura instantly rushed out, starting to corrode Yun Yaoyao's meridians and body. Ice Soul Martial Soul. Li Lingtian shouted softly as he activated his Ice Soul Martial Soul. Devouring Light. After the Ice Soul Martial Spirit was activated, his entire body became extremely cold. He had obtained the devouring light from the ancient demon's memories in the Devil Canyon. However, he didn't understand. Before he obtained the ancient devil's memories, he had already possessed a trace of devouring ability. This devouring ability was definitely something he had before he entered the Devil Canyon. He did not know when he had obtained the devouring power. The only explanation was that he had been injured after fighting Beichen Wuyo and mutated after obtaining the blood essence of the 3 women. The devouring light was unleashed, and the yin energy in Yun Yaoyao's body was quickly devoured. The cold yin qi that was devoured was quickly refined by the Ice Soul Martial Soul, forming a tiny crystal pearl in Li Lingtian's body. Yes. After an unknown period of time, Yun Yaoyao's cold yin qi was completely devoured. Yun Yaoyao's consciousness wavered and only recovered slightly when Li Lingtian retracted his divine perception and magic art. His meridians and body could also be controlled by himself. The cold yin qi in his 9 yin absolute meridians was removed, and the true qi in his meridians circulated rapidly. Li Lingtian spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale and powerless. He had just used the power of 5 elements and devouring light on purpose. After Yun Yaoyao's 9 yin terminal meridians were removed, he relaxed and could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. His body also leaned forward and lay weakly on the bed. However, a faint smile appeared on his face. This smile was the joy of his success. Junior brother, junior brother. Yun Yaoyao came over when Li Lingtian collapsed and saw him lying down in front of her. His pale face was unbearable. Without any hesitation, she lifted Li Lingtian's head as tears rolled down her face. She had completely forgotten that she was only wearing a tube top and Li Lingtian's head was resting on her chest. A comforting smile appeared on Li Lingtian's face, telling Yun Yaoyao not to worry. Feeling the warmth of her strong and soft breasts, Li Lingtian felt terrible. This feeling would be good if it continued like this forever. The entire scene was extremely ambiguous, but Yun Yaoyao was unaware of it. She was only worried about Li Lingtian's condition. Senior sister, you just removed the 9 absolute meridians. Hurry up and cultivate. This is an opportunity for cultivation. Li Lingtian said earnestly as he struggled to free himself from the pair of strong and plump peaks. If it was any other time, he wouldn't be so foolish. But now, Yun Yaoyao needed to cultivate, and he needed to refine the cold energy in his body. Yes. Yun Yaoyao waited until Li Lingtian had left before she realized what was happening to her. Her little face blushed again. However, he was relieved when he saw Li Lingtian meditating with his eyes closed. If his junior brother saw him in this state, he would surely die of shame. Li Lingtian closed his eyes and meditated. He circulated the heaven and earth reincarnation technique and quickly refined the crystal pearl in his body. This was Yun Yaoyao's Yin Qi, which was extremely beneficial to his ice soul martial soul. An hour later, Yun Yaoyao was done with her cultivation. She smiled in excitement, and her cultivation had reached rank 1 martial king. She didn't dare to imagine or believe such a thing, but it happened to her. After he was done with his cultivation, he shyly put on his clothes and rested his chin on his hand as he carefully observed Li Lingtian's cultivation. Li Lingtian opened his eyes at the same time but ignored Yun Yaoyao. Instead, he took out 2 elixirs and gave one to Yun Yaoyao to stabilize her cultivation. He wanted her to use the elixirs to suppress the discomfort in her body to prevent the 9 terminal meridians from acting up again. After he was done, he threw a medicinal pill into his mouth and began to cultivate. The shocking medicinal power spread through his meridians like an atomic bomb. He circulated the heaven and earth reincarnation and circulated the medicinal strength. The medicinal strength slowly flowed through his meridians and finally entered his dantian. The energy in his dantian revolved once and slowly flowed out. It continued to circulate for a total of 10 major cycles before Li Lingtian's expression changed drastically. A shocking Li Lingtian quickly gathered. His original warrior king cultivation had changed at this moment. The Jinqi was so dense that it was almost tangible. Moreover, the Jinqi gradually formed a pearl. However, this time, the pearl was not golden, but 5-colored. Condensing the pill. Li Lingtian said excitedly. If he could condense his core at the warrior king realm, it meant that he would be able to recover to tier 1 warrior ascendant. The power of the soul-restoring pill was indeed heaven-defying. However, what puzzled him was that the originally golden bead had now turned 5-colored. Seconds ticked by, and after an unknown period of time, Yun Yaoyao finished cultivating once again. When she opened her eyes, a look of hope appeared on her face. Fortunately, Li Lingtian had given her the elixir. Otherwise, she would have suffered a real backlash. The 2 of them were cultivating in the room, but the outside world was in chaos. Yun Xiaoling and the others waited anxiously outside Li Lingtian's courtyard. However, a day had passed and there was still no news from Li Lingtian and his wife. The rest of the disciples went back to rest, leaving only the 6 martial kings and Yun Xiaoling to wait here. At noon the next day, the other disciples came to the courtyard again and advised Yun Xiaoling to go back and rest. Yun Xiaoling was worried about Li Lingtian and Yun Yaoyao, so he could only feel at ease after the 2 of them came out. However, at this moment, a voice sounded in the sky. Maple Leaf Villa, Li Lingtian, get out here. The voice was far away in the sky, and it was like thunder. The entire mountain peak where Maple Leaf Manor was located trembled. Yun Xiaoling and the others were shocked. Someone actually dared to call out Li Lingtian's name. Judging from his tone, it was obvious that he was here to cause Li Lingtian trouble. In the soliciting Moon Mountains, the sects and warriors who were slightly closer to Maple Leaf Manor heard it. They were all extremely curious, wondering who dared to offend the spirit alchemist. As soon as he finished speaking, 6 figures appeared in the air. They were extremely fast and arrived within 5 kilometers of Maple Leaf Manor in the blink of an eye. They floated in the air and looked down at Maple Leaf Manor. There were 2 white-haired elders, 3 middle-aged men, and 1 young man. None of the Maple Leaf Manor warriors could tell the cultivation strength of these 6 people. Hand over Li Lingtian or Maple Leaf Villa will be razed to the ground. The young man shouted angrily as if he had killed Li Lingtian's father. They looked at the martial artists in Maple Leaf Mountain with a sharp gaze. Their faces were full of disdain. They thought that Maple Leaf Mountain was powerful, but now it seemed that they were only martial kings and warrior spirits. This is Maple Leaf Manor. One wonder why you've come all the way here. Ling Tian's spirit alchemist is currently cultivating in seclusion. If you're looking for him, now is not the time. Yun Xiaoling smiled bitterly in his heart. He thought that Li Lingtian's former enemy had come looking for him. It was a crucial moment for Li Lingtian to remove Yun Yaoyao's 9 terminated meridians, so he naturally could not disturb him. During this period of time, no one dared to provoke Li Lingtian due to his reputation as an alchemist in the soliciting Moon Mountains. Now that he had mentioned the word alchemist in his speech, he hoped that the other party would have some misgivings about alchemists. But to his disappointment, this young man didn't listen to him at all and ignored the existence of the spirit alchemist. One will count to 3. If you don't come out, Maple Leaf Manor will vanish into thin air. The young man shouted loudly, and the anger on his face became more and more intense. The middle-aged man and the old man beside him did not dare to say anything to the young man. It seemed that the 2 old men and the 3 middle-aged men were the young man's guards. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.